Heyo, what's going on? Is anybody out there? We got 7 or 8 people. Like typically starts out. We're growing. We're growing from 6 to 7. Mormon Standard Time. Yeah. I can for sure count on Flip to run on that Mormon Standard Time, but he's always running back from work. That's what's going on right there. Mormon Standard Time is like 10, 15 minutes, right? Isn't it normally? Somewhere around there. What's happening, everybody? We got several people going. We got Flip coming in. I don't think Jared's making it tonight. Flip will be here any minute, and we will be BSing away. We might invite some other people on and talk about crap. What's happening this week? What's going on with everybody out there? Mormon crap this week. What sort of stuff do we got on tap? I saw that Crash Course talked about cults and Mormons a little bit. I labeled this Kayfabe. One of the reasons I labeled it Kayfabe is I saw that Bill Reel was all excited about the Vince McMahon. I keep saying Jim McMahon. Vince McMahon documentary, and Jonathan was telling me I should try to go on and talk with him about it because I am a bit of a wrestling geek. And what's up, Steve? And I don't know if Bill would have me on. I don't know if he was looking for wrestling geeks or if he was just looking to. Here it is, right here. What does Bill say on that? I watched the whole documentary, but I know all sorts of stuff about the Wrastlin and the Kayfabes. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Kayfabes before these guys got here tonight, because we're going to talk about debates, and debate stuff came up with Jacob, between Jacob and Flip, and maybe future stuff happened with Jacob and maybe not. But also we saw a vice presidential debate happen this week, or sort of happen. But Kayfabe kind of ties in pretty well with that in a sort of way. We also saw something, I forget the guy's name, but Troy shared with us on the Longhouse a guy named Dave who took down the Weinsteins, tried to take down the Weinsteins, but I wanted to kind of tie it all together because Kayfabe. Does everybody know what Kayfabe is? Kayfabe. Ooh. Let's see. Let's go here. So Billy here says that he wants to talk about Vince McMahon. And what do you say? If any of you were fans of the WWF or WWE in your childhood or early adulthood or both, like me, cue the shame. I don't feel any shame, Bill Real. I feel less shame about that than other religious things that I was into. This documentary was so deep into the psychopathy of another human being. One that has wreaked havoc on the lives of others and did incredible things. Oops. Man, I would love to have a deep conversation about 20 aspects of this documentary. Wow, it was dark and had surprises, even for one who followed it closer than most. I would love to discuss this documentary. It was phenomenal. Any psychologist, your opinions would be so interesting to me. I would love to do a panel and talk out the depth of this man for good or evil. I was enthralled and disgusted and grew to even further admire what he accomplished while not ignoring the grossness of the way that he did it. Maybe, I mean, Bill, I'll shout out. I'm here. Here I am. Fake stuff. Yeah, Kayfabe. Kayfabe is fake stuff. Fake stuff, sort of. Kayfabe. Kayfabe. Kayfabe is a term used in professional wrestling to describe the act of portraying staged events as genuine. But they also talk about never breaking kayfabe. They're not. So there was like this big event back in the 80s. There's this big moment back in the 80s where there was all these different wrestlers who were supposedly against each other, the good guys and the bad guys. And I think it was the Iron Sheik and the Hulk and these different people. and there was like some moment where they got seen all out together having dinner together, and it broke the kayfabe. It made people realize, like, wait a minute, is this just a work going on here? Is this some sort of job? And that one was behind the scenes. Then there was another big moment in the 90s when Razor Ramon and Edge were Diesel were going over to the WCW, and they had their last match over in WWE, and they broke the kayfabe to all give each other hugs in the middle of the match at the end of the night, and it pissed everybody off. But one of the things that ended up happening with the kayfabe over the years is it just made the kayfabe go to a different level, because everybody, I mean, there's this big old stuff back in the 80s and 90s where John Stossel went and tried to expose them all for being fake wrestlers. John Stossel was proven to them. Joy says he followed the wrestling stuff in the years. I worked on the same games: WWF, Raw is War 95, Anarchy Rules 2000, and Legends of Wrestling 2002. That's so awesome. We should tell Bill that we're here for them to talk about the Wrastlins. But those moments when it broke kayfabe, all it ever did was kind of create like a second level of kayfabe. So what started happening is people got in on the whole concept that the fight that was on display was a performance, or was part of the are you the face or the heel of ex-Mormonism? I'm the ace, man. The ace. The ace is no, I don't know. I think I'm being a heel to ex-Mormonism. But, and I actually kind of do that a little bit. I do a little bit of kayfabe, because some of the positions I take aren't necessarily my position. They're just a point of view that doesn't get put out there very often, and or gets misrepresented in certain ways in the ex-Mormon world. So, but the what was I talking about? So look at this. What was the name of the guy, Troy, that you showed us who was criticizing the Weinsteins this week? Dave something or other. So Eric Weinstein very famously put out this article in, well, what year was this? It's 4, 5, 6 years ago, where he just started about kayfabe and how you need to put kayfabe in your scientific concept or philosophical toolkit. So look at this. So if you didn't know, Eric Weinstein at this time was the managing director of Thiel Capital. Peter Thiel, who is also, what a lot of people say, one of the persons who's in the ear of J.D. Vance quite a bit, teaching him how to be dissident right in that sort of, I'll show you guys those base camp weirdos who also put out like a good podcast this week about talking about how Mormons were pod people, but the woke took the pod people out of Mormonism. And so it cleaned up Mormonism by taking their pod people away. Based camp. These guys who, speaking of pod people, Flip was noticing, like, if these guys are calling people pod people, I don't know what to tell you. But here's these guys. So I don't know if this is even showing them. So these are the base camp guys. Anyway, they just put out this cultural anthropology of the new right. If you watch it this morning, and I think I shared it on the other thing. They had a video this week about calling Mormons the pod person reaction, and how woke stole pod people from conformist religions. Mormon case study. And they try to compare about like how people kind of hit that uncanny valley of strange people that don't really seem to have like minds of their own or something like that. But then the wokeness stole the pod people out, and maybe it cleaned up Mormons to be more genuine and authentic or something like that. But their cultural anthropology of the new right, that's where they talk about the Silicon Valley right, which is 100% where J.D. Vance places himself, with coming out of like the thoughts of people like Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin. And that's why some people say he is what you call a trad cath, a traditional Catholic, but one of the big things about all the tradcasts that are going around out there, these different people kind of going around pushing like the hard Catholicism, is that a lot of people think it's not genuine. Dave Farina is the channel that criticized the Weinsteins, both the Weinstein brothers this week. And I'm kind of, I don't know if Dave gotten this because I didn't finish his whole video, but this is some of the stuff that kind of strangely spreads to the political, because you can read here where he talks about kayfabe and kind of putting on what we used to call Pomo trad, postmodern traditionalism, which is putting on a religion or a certain religious stance for the kayfabe of it, for the politics of it. And you can look at JD Vance. Like JD Vance, if you like follow his whole life through high school and all that sorts of stuff, he went through an atheist spell. He went through a spell of being a commie at Yale and all that sorts of stuff. He went through a spell of being an anti-Trumper and all that sorts of deal. And I'm not even like saying any of this like I think it's like the worst thing in the world or something like that, or the best thing either. But what I'm just pointing at is just this is going on. This is part of the kayfabe of our times right here, and the kayfabe in that scenario is what we've always talked about as Pomo traditionalism, is putting on a performance. So he went and realigned himself with Catholicism. I don't know if realigned, because probably growing up in Appalachia, there probably wasn't much Catholicism around there. His wife is a Hindu. They have 3 different kids, and now they're speaking the postmodern traditionalism thing. But if you follow James Lindsay, he had like a whole wild thing going on this week where he took on the Pomo Catholics, the people kind of pushing on this stuff. And it got kind of wild over there on James Lindsay's Twitter, like is wont to do pretty often. I'll see if I can pull it up. But he was calling out a Trump tweet that was calling out a blessing of the Archangel Michelangelo or whatever is it, Michael Archangel, some sort of blessing like that. I'll see if I can find it. And all that stuff comes directly out of this tradcast like movement of politically turning Catholic. I don't know how else to say it. And we talk about Dave Green, the distributor, this a lot on here, and he had a pretty good podcast this week, kind of talking about how politics is all sort of effeminate nowadays. He doesn't mean female, he means it's effeminate. Like no matter what, we're all kind of arguing from this like frame of victimology. Even if you're the ones arguing against victimology, you're arguing from a victim standpoint. It's the way the pagans might call it under Julius Evola, he said it's like a lunar way of thinking or an effeminate way of thinking. And they have all this like, it's weird stuff. It's weird stuff, man. But let me see here. What was I going to pull up? Oh, I was going to try to pull up James Lindsay getting upset about the prayer to the angel Michael, because on all that sorts of stuff, is he tied it all the way back to those same theosophical societies, because they were doing these Archangel Michael prayers that were done exactly the way some other like followers of Helena Blavatsky and different people did the prayer themselves. And so a bunch of people were saying that it's just getting creepy. It's creepy in like the Catholicism of it, or the trad Catholicism of it, and creepy. But you're not. That's one of the things Dave the distributors talked a whole lot, is that there's like this whole vibe thing that no matter what, JD Vance was trying to shake off the concept of being creepy, and everybody's painting him as creepy. They're putting out the vibes, like it's a vibe check. Everything is trying to make stuff more about the vibes and the arguments this year, which I guess is the proper way to do politics, right? Nobody's ever actually talking about the truth. Who cares about the truth? We're all doing kayfabe. Who's the heel? Who's the baby face, right? Anyway, like all the way back to the Vince McMahon stuff. This is garbled, but I'm just ranting on it before Flip gets here. All the way back to the Vince McMahon stuff. So who does everybody know about the Montreal screw job? They talked about the Montreal screw job in the thing. And one of the deals, oh, look at this. Harami Boy said he saw a $100 donation to Jacob Hansen. Did you also see my $100 donation to Mormon News Roundup and Cultural Hall? So I'm just like the U.S. government. I've funded both sides of that war. Hurrah, my boy. But I saw you in the comment section. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Maybe we might even like have a cultural hall on a little bit. But Flip wants to talk about, because you might have seen Flip going ham in that podcast stream as well, because Jacob was kind of dodging who he would debate or not. And I actually was trying to talk to Jacob and talk him into taking some of those debates. And but talking into those debates, you try to like, instead of like insult or push somebody into it, I'm trying to ease them into it and just like make the debates happen, because I think they'd be fun debates to watch. But that's all just for my entertainment, Anyway, I was in that same stream at the end saying I think you should give either Divas or Colby Reddish a hand, and I also told that to Jacob behind the scenes a little bit. But that's all kayfabe, folks. It's kayfabe. It's kayfabe. Kayfabe. We're setting up the sides. We got heels. We got baby faces. We got all sorts of different stuff that we're setting up to make a, what do you call it? WrestleMania 47 or whatever number they're on nowadays.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch wrestling when you were a wee one?
So like, my cousins were into it, and I feel like I was into it for like a summer, but like even as like an 8-9-year-old, I'm like, guys, this is pretty dumb. And my cousins were like, come on, man, you don't get it. And I'm like, but it's really dumb. And they're like, yeah, we know. And like I've always been that kind of guy where it's like I just can't get over,
It's not dumb. That's the problem. That's what you don't see, even though like everything out there in the world is kayfabe. And that's kind of what I was getting at is, do you know about the Montreal screw job? It's kind of a famous thing.
I've learned about it before, but it left my brain. I can't memorize what it was.
So the Montreal screw job is a scenario where Bret the Hitman Hart was leaving WWE to go to WCW, because there was all this sorts of stuff where who was
it? Behind the scenes contract shit.
Well, but that's where it got smart in its kayfabe. That's what I'm talking about. Is they gave up the game or started like winking at the audience that the fights were all staged, but then they started doing all this like contract stuff behind the scene about who's going where and what's doing what and why and who doesn't like who behind the scenes.
And then it becomes
that was kayfabe too. Like it all was kayfabe, and that's where Vince McMahon was a super genius. Is that he kind of started winking at people about the performance out in the ring, but then he'd have these behind the scenes contract and fights, and the stars are going or coming or going or leaving or in the top tier or in the bottom tier, and people got into the business side of it, and they didn't realize that all of the business side of it was just as kayfabe as the kayfabe. He was putting out. He was leaking information or saying that this guy didn't like this guy and they're not going to work together and all that sorts of stuff. It was straight up a work. And so a lot of people might disagree. I will stand by this till my death. The Montreal screw job was a kayfabe. The Montreal screw job was a work. And so what it was Bret the Hitman Hart was leaving. He was leaving WWE to go to WCW because he's getting more money there. So when he was leaving on top. He had the belt. So he had to dump the belt. But he didn't want to dump the belt to Shawn Michaels because they were bitter rivals. So he refused to dump the belt to Shawn Michaels. But that night, they screwed him and they counted out fast in the middle of a move that he didn't think was the end of the thing. And they gave him the belt to Shawn Michaels because they did like a fast count and he didn't know that was going to. So all of this is like, oh, wait, you tricked him because he wasn't going to give up the belt to the guy he hated and got the belt given over to this other guy. And then supposedly he went backstage and there's all this film, the stuff backstage where Bret the Hitman Hart went up and punched Vince McMahon in the face. And then from there, Vince McMahon started coming out as the great big bad guy who even Stone Cold Steve Austin hated him because he was like the top owner of like the whole thing. Like he started becoming part of the works. He became the main heel of the whole entire thing because he was screwing over those guys contract wise. So it added this level of kayfabe. And what I'm telling you, like, watch the videos of like supposedly when McMahon got hit by Bret the Hitman Hart backstage. They've got cameras on everything. Oh, except for the moment when the real hit came. Like there's no video of that. You know what I mean? And they said, whoa, is this? And people are talking about that. This guy's leaving the whole thing. And what it did is shoot the organization up and like get all these ratings and stuff. It was a work. It was completely a work. And all of that stuff just became a work. And this is one of the things that's kind of weird about Shane McMahon is over the years, all of his stuff about the weird alter ego of him, not Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, being a weird, creepy, creeper, sexually harassing boss and all that stuff was all part of his kayfabe for years and years and years, because he became a part of the circus of who they were fighting against and who was the great big evil boss man. Then it got like blended and weird in people's minds because they all started saying like, well, is he just doing that for a work? Is it just for the show? Or is he really that sort of guy or something like that in the way he deals with people? And then just recently, this stuff came out where these women said that he was paying them for sexual favors, and then he didn't end up paying on the sexual favors, and then they outed him as saying that he was harassing them all these years and that sort of stuff. But you ask me, Troy says, I remember how Vince became the greedy bad guy and would smell stacks of money. Yeah, and so suddenly you had the CEO of the company coming out and being part of the whole entire thing. So they put in like a second layer of kayfabe, but there was even a third layer because there would be other like sophisticated guys who were like, well, we know that's a work, but then there's still the actual real business of the company. And the actual real business of the company, they were telling tall tales out of that sort of stuff too. Like if you go listen to all the sorts of deal, like each level of it has tall tales with it. And each level, like, here's the reality, here's the reality, here's the reality. And the next level of the reality was just another door. Like behind that door is just another door, it's just another door, it's just another door. It was kayfabe all the way up. And that's how they like kept keeping people smart or keeping people guessing and all that sort of stuff. But also, I was tying it back into Eric Weinstein here, talking to Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel, who talks to JD Vance about the kayfabe that they got to play, and somebody who is very, very aware of this whole world, somebody who knows he's a heel, and that's one of the reasons people like Trump knows he's a heel. Like, I hate to tell it to you guys. Like, he knows he's a heel. He knows he's the American boogeyman. He's exactly the American boogeyman that the WWE would put out for you. He's exactly that. Have you been getting worked by him just as much as by the media? You're getting worked. It's a work. I'm telling you, it's a work. And then there's different levels and all those sorts of stuff. They're all works. It's a work. It's a work. It's a work. Somewhere down at the bottom, there's something true, but we're all getting worked on some sort of level of that crap.
Well, but here's the thing, though, because like Jacob does all this stuff, but I don't think he's faking. I think he means it.
Well, everybody's putting out like a mask and a persona, or like a little bit, and everybody's like a little bit real on some level. But yeah, bringing it back to the debates and Jacob. So Jacob did a live stream Friday or something like that.
Jacob,
and Flip got on there and started throwing wrenches, and Gulch was on there too.
Like, because that's like, I mean, obviously, I know that I'm never gonna get serious, actual, honest engagement out of Jacob. I've given up on that a long time ago. So, like, kind of in a kayfabe way, like, literally, my only goal is to just keep basically exposing, like, look, this guy is a charlatan, basically, because like, what was it? I super chatted him, and I said, selective witness model. Be honest, Jacob. And then he gave an answer, which was like, here's the thing, like, Jacob, I know you'll never watch this or answer it or anything, but like, I know that Jacob knows what a straw man is. I think he knows how to formulate one. I think he knows how to recognize one. I think he understands why, if you employ one, it means you've already lost whatever it is you're trying to prove, right? And yeah, that's like all he did, like, and not even a good straw man, an extremely stupid straw man. He said, like, well, this criticism that I'm just choosing everything arbitrarily. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Jacob? What do you mean arbitrarily? Like, I'm calling it sarcastically. Jeez, I just spit. I'm sarcastically calling it the selective witness model. That's the dead fucking opposite of arbitrary. Selective and arbitrary are not synonyms. And
this is, you were arguing with somebody in the
two people in the chat, and this is the amazing thing, is because and this is a throwback to the legendary Jacob, also the well, what does okay mean? Bullshit. You know, you guys remember that classic? When back, it was one of the last things that happened before I resigned from thoughtful faith Facebook group because I got tired of being banned for bullshit. But when I just said, like, is it okay to not be Mormon? And Jacob and a bunch of his doinks were like, well, it depends on what you mean by okay. And like, and I know they're fucking lying because like in other days on that group, they're like, you know, is it okay to feed your kids on fast Sunday? You know, whatever. Like everybody knows what okay means, right? But then, you know, when it's convenient, Jake will be like, well, you have to define your terms. Okay can mean a lot of different things at different times. Like, you fucker. Like, is it okay to feed your children bleach? Like, you know what that word means. But anyway, so now, and I know that he knows what selective means. I know he knows what arbitrary means. I know he knows that I am not making the case whatsoever that he selects his witnesses arbitrarily, right? Maybe someone is out there making that case. I've never seen it. But no, anyway, just that's it. But that's what I was getting at. Like, so because Jacob is dishonest, but then one of his acolytes is in the comments going, well, no, selective and arbitrary are synonyms. Everybody knows that. And like, and this is where I just, you know, I lose myself. And like, I just and I'm just like, I dare you to copy and paste the definitions of selective and arbitrary in this chat right now. Like, you got that. I fucking know you fucking know better than this, right? But all I can get out of this is to illustrate motivated reasoning in real time when intelligent people will say the most retarded shit in the world. Like, selective and arbitrary actually mean exactly the same thing. Oh my God. No, they don't. But that's the things like that. That's where Jacob has to go in order to make his case because he's a terrible apologist. But he's great. He's a great kayfaber. He's a good wrestler. Like Mormon rhetorical wrestling, he's amazing at it. But like if we're all trying to be serious, he's garbage.
I don't think he's no. I mean, I think he's got some philosophical standing in backing and understanding. Like he can, just like William Lane Craig and that sorts of stuff. Like it's you can't just there's something more philosophically backed or understood by William Lane Craig than there is by Dinesh D'Souza. Like if you saw those two debates between Hitchens and William Lane Craig, like you got to admit, William Lane Craig has more philosophical.
I'll give it to William Lane Craig. Jacob is imitating. Jacob is like he's just imitating. Like,
well, I think he says that he pulls from William Lane.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like I don't think he understands this stuff the way he thinks or pretends to. You know, like that's things. Like I think William Lane Craig again, although that's another one. Like, does he know he's lying? Because like you know, everybody on Earth of any philosophical rhetorical salt has pointed out, like William Lane Craig smuggles his conclusions into his assumptions. Like that's his game. Yeah. He's a presuppositionalist, and like it's a word trick, and it's convincing to people who either already believe what he's saying or are idiots. But that's it. Like you know, but you know, I think William Lane Craig is a good enough ninja at the philosophical rhetorical game that you know, he's way more impressive. Whereas that's the thing, is like, you know, Jacob I think really is just kind of copy pasting from those guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I mean, that's one of the reasons I'd like to see the debates. That's why, I mean, we know, and I talked to him and I asked him, like, who is that debate for? Because I don't necessarily know why Divas or Kobe Reddish wouldn't fit the criteria, even like after all of his changed. Because Cultural Hall said something pretty funny. He said, "I've seen you challenge a ham sandwich on Twitter," and that's true. Like there's tons of times on Twitter where he goes, debate me or something. Like, just some random person that he's talking to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, exactly. He's always been doing that. And even like whatever it was a couple of weeks ago, where he starts out going like, "I will debate any atheist," like, okay, you know how we know, Jacob, that you're backpedaling and being dishonest when it turns out you'll actually only debate a limited list of 3 atheists, and only if they agree to your terms and conditions and topics and presuppositions ahead of time. Literally what you said in that whole fucking podcast, right? But no, you started out saying any, and then it ended up with the 3. Like, if that was always in your head at the beginning, you wouldn't have used that word, Jacob. But what happened is me and other people and lots of other people, and I was volunteering you. Like, literally, like, no, it doesn't even have to be me. Like, I know you don't want to talk to me, but there are some fucking Troy. Like, Troy has already done it, right? But and that's the thing, is like, and I don't know if he saw it or not. I think he did. And that's when he starts going like, well, no, you have to be a podcaster and you have to make your living at this. Oh, this is the real scandal about Jacob the other night. The thing that I think is of actual Mormon topic interest. Like, all of the Mormon shit we talk about is this kayfabe retarded shit. But for me, the really, really interesting stuff is the legalistic nuts and bolts of this, which is because you asked him when you paid him $100 and said, all I ask is that you pay tithing on this and not taxes. And Jacob says he doesn't pay tithing on YouTube income, says he considers it a gift. And I think that under Mormon jurisprudence, that is wrong. Like, if you're a waiter and you earn tips, right, that's increase, that's earnings, that's part of your wage. You worked for that. You have to pay tithing on that, right?
I know Trump's talking about taking tips away from, or taking taxes off of tips. Maybe there's always been LDS people who've considered tips non-tithable. Maybe that's always been, because I mean, I know. Have you ever listened to Cardin talk about this? Like Cardin and his wife?
No, I don't think so.
If I would have thought about it that we were getting to this, I would have pulled it up. But Cardin definitely hints at getting creative with what's tithable. He definitely does that. Yeah, and he says he and his wife don't do it, and he says, "Oh, I mean, I know you could get some blessings if you expand on that, but I mean, they both admit that it's one of the things that they hate doing."
Is tithing?
Yeah, they both admit to that, and then Cardin says that he admits to being, I don't know how to put it, like he says, getting creative with like what he actually thinks is actually income or not, and that sort of deal. And he for sure says it. Like, that's out there. Like, I could pull that up. Maybe by next time I'll pull it up. How much of crying in church is kayfabe? It's kayfabe, man. I think so much of like that conference, we're coming up on conference weekend. Like, I don't know if they still do that conference talk cry or something. That I think it became really popular after Bruce R. McConkie did it, like right before he was going to die, if you remember that talk. And then like every single guy from then on, like if you get to a testimony, you've got to cry into the testimony or something like that. But even this week, do you remember there was a Jeffrey R. Holland video that said you need to get angry if people didn't read the scriptures and all that sorts of stuff. And I've never seen that one like resent out anywhere, but Jeffrey R. Holland had this whole video that used to get shown in the MTC that said you need to get angry about anybody not reading or following through with their Book of the Mormon reading requirement. But then just today, Cardin and those guys were talking about women need to start getting performatively mad and angrier and not so nice in their debates online.
Cardin, don't ask women to get angrier.
But kayfabe, man, if you want some kayfabe, I mean, I would call Kwaku doing some spiritual kayfabe, spiritual kayfabe. Yeah. Let me see if we can find spiritual. Hold on a second here. What was it called? Yeah, I can't find it. Man, these guys pump out something. It says fight back. Women of the church must fight back. And
so ridiculous.
They started talking about like women need to start getting angry and upset. Cole says, are you guys sensing for the desire of the Mormon YouTubers for the most to be a lot meaner? Yeah. I mean, basically, if we can pull this up, but I mean, that's kind of one of the deals. They're Quick and Jacob and Cardin. They all kind of say that, hey, we gotta cut this niceness culture. They talk about niceness culture, which is a little bit of the C.S. Lewis stuff that they're talking about. You know, like the lion. You know, Aslan's not safe, but he's good. You know what I mean? He's not safe, but he's good. So it's this one here. Fight back. Women must break the cycle of niceness culture and fight back.
Nice culture.
But I don't know necessarily that they shouldn't do that or shouldn't be that way. I mean, I don't know. For my kayfabe fights, for my heels versus baby faces, it's funner for me to watch. So it's stuff I think gets into that sort of deal. I mean, I'm paying the WWE here to get some good matches. You know, I need to get my WrestleMania. How much does Carden say fuck when not on the air? I don't know about that. I mean, he might be pretty good at like having Flip just be like flip, fetch and flip being the eternal feeling for stuff like that. But I don't know. I think I think Jacob could get into debating Colby Reddish or Divas like at some point or another.
I mean, you're optimistic, but like, I just see him back off of everything or move the goalposts or, you know, like, he just drives me nuts. He's so fucking squirrely.
Just real quick back on the kayfabe stuff. I shared a video that's Academic Agent going into much more detail. I mean, the Netflix specials with Vince McMahon, it's like 6 or 7 episodes, and I watched the whole thing. But I shared Academic Agent's covering of all the different things Vince McMahon did over the years to try to consolidate different regions and the way he brought kayfabe up to like the larger stuff. Like the guy was brilliant. He was absolutely like a brilliant showman. There's no way around that. And but there's also this video by Max Landis. Do you remember who Max Landis is?
Yeah, it's John Landis' kid.
Yeah, he got canceled. He made that movie Bright and another
he got canceled, but like as far as I can tell, the allegations are never any more than he was polyamory creep.
Yeah, he's polyamory creep with chicks.
But like that's supposed to be like the whole point of that is that's okay, remember?
Yeah, but it was right smack at the beginning of the Me Too stuff, man. There was no way to fight it. It was like one of the first guys to go. He made this video a long while back. It's worth watching. When you say I love pro wrestling, the response is inevitably,
you do know it's fake, right?
More real than any other TV show, WWE Raw features live death-defying stunts performed in front of an audience of thousands every week. People who feel the need to tell you that wrestling isn't real clearly don't watch wrestling because the show features an undead wizard, leprechauns, an evil group of male cheerleaders. This show does not pretend to be an athletic competition. Instead, it's a TV show about a wrestling show. It has more in common with Game of Thrones than it does with UFC. And if you follow one character all the way through, you can see that this format allows the telling of interesting, diverse, and compelling stories. And there is no better place to start than with probably my favorite wrestler, Triple H.
wrestling isn't wrestling. So he tells the whole story of Triple H, and this is his Me Too problem.
Character Hunter Hearst.
He tells the whole thing with these models. All these models act out the role of Triple H. And you can watch the whole thing. All these models, like he gets all these hot chicks to come act out the roles of the different wrestlers to tell the whole story of Triple H in there. But don't watch it because he's canceled, and he probably tried to get fresh with half those girls. Don't watch it. Do not watch it. I'll share that in the thing. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, who Triple H is now. Well, I mean, he married Stephanie McMahon, and he's now the creative head of the entire organization after Vince got ousted entirely.
Huh.
Yeah. So.
Man, I had no idea about any of this.
You don't have any idea about Triple H. How much do you pay for rent for the rock you're living under? For the rock you're living. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but it's got those levels to it, and the levels are hilarious. That's one of the things about the whole thing is like it winks at itself so hard. It's so hilarious on so many different levels. And then there's the they're joking about it like it's all a joke for sure. And I recommend watching it. But Also recognizing that how much kayfabe's in your real life, because kayfabe's everywhere, man. It's everywhere. Did you watch any of the kayfabe presidential debate? To practice for your
Oh.
future debates that will come up with Jacob?
No, I mean, I watched, I think, 2.5 minutes of presidential debate.
What? You didn't watch
Yeah.
the whole dang thing to learn about who your future vice presidents are
No,
probably
or
going to
the
be?
and the vice president. Yeah, I didn't watch any of that. I think I saw a clip. Everybody's like, all the reports are like, well, they were really nice to each other.
Yeah, not enough kayfabe, man.
Yeah, not enough
That's a
kayfabe,
jobber.
yeah.
That's
I
a
guess
jobber
what
match. It's a match between jobbers. Jobbers are guys who are just there to get owned by the baby faces and the heels. That's a jobber.
Oh.
So a bunch of people, like in the especially like the kayfabe stuff gets really big in that Silicon Valley right stuff. They all follow this stuff. That's why I shared that video from Academic Agent. Academic Agent is one of the biggest names in like the dissident right stuff, and he knows that stuff like the back of his hand, like you wouldn't believe it. And he's British. He's a British Iranian guy, and he knows that stuff in and out like you wouldn't believe. And he's a professor. He's a professor of philosophy and all that sorts of stuff. But
What a world.
yeah, I wanted to pull up some moment and contrast it with some Hitchens. With some Hitchens. We'll have some Hitchens. We'll have Hitchens debate these guys a little bit. What's that?
I said, Hitch.
Good old Hitch. I'm trying to find one that actually has the transcript because there's a bunch of them, but I don't know like when it makes the transcript or doesn't. But so hate. Mm-hmm.
You got your window open? Are you outside? Oh, you're on the.
Yeah, I'm outside. Here's screen. The full debate. Let me try to find like this. Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact First Amendment.
Amendment the first.
Mm-hmm.
Here
we go.
Attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the
masks.
governor does
That's
have the
not
floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator,
So free speech, hate speech, and fire in a crowded theater. Mankind is Cactus Jack, is Mick Foley. Yeah, the three different people. The Undertaker rises from a coffin. Yeah, it was pretty clear. It was performance. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, The Undertaker for a few years came out with his own personality, which I think he should have always stayed as the Undertaker. They sent Vince out to win over all the suburban moms by flashing the baby blues and making Jim Halpert face. Yeah. So let me have Christopher Hitchens with one of our favorite talks ever counter some of that hate speech, and you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
That's so classic.
Fire. Now you've heard it. Not shouted in a crowded theatre, admittedly. As I realize, I seem now to have shouted it in the Hogwarts dining room. But the point is made. Everyone knows the fatuous verdict of the greatly overpraised Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, who asked for an actual example of when it would be proper to limit speech or define it as an action, gave that of shouting fire in a crowded theater. It's very often forgotten what he was doing in that case was sending to prison a group of Yiddish-speaking socialists whose literature was printed in a language most Americans couldn't read, opposing President Wilson's participation in the First World War and the dragging of the United States into this sanguinary conflict, which the Yiddish-speaking socialists had fled from Russia to escape. In fact, it could be just as plausibly argued that the Yiddish-speaking socialists who were jailed by the excellent and overpraised Judge Oliver Wendell Holmes were the real firefighters, were the ones who were shouting fire when there really was fire in a very crowded theater indeed. And who is to decide? Well, keep that question, if you would, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I hope I may say comrades and friends, before your minds. I exempt myself from the Speaker's kind offer of protection that was so generously proffered at the opening.
So that's fire in a crowded theater, which not just was it bad, the situation that he was bringing up for in that 1800s thing, but it's been overturned. It is not the Supreme Court test. Like there's been 1970. Oh yeah, because of World War One. But it's not. It is absolutely not the Supreme Court test right now. Fire in a crowded theater, and even Oliver Wendell Holmes went back on it like 20 years later. And then he talks about the warning of hate speech. Oh. Mm-hmm.
The sort of people who ring me up and say they know where my children go to school, and they certainly know what my home number is and where I live, and what they're going to do to them and to my wife and to me, and who I have to take seriously because they have done it to people I know, are just the people who are going to seek the protection of the hate speech law if I say what I think about their religion, which I'm now going to do. Because I don't have any what you might call ethnic bias. I've no grudge of that sort. I can rub along with pretty much anyone of any, as it were, origin or sexual orientation or language group, except people from Yorkshire, of course, who are completely untakeable. And I'm beginning to resent the confusion that's being imposed on us now, and there was some of it this evening, between religious belief, blasphemy, ethnicity, profanity, and what one might call multicultural etiquette. It's quite common now for people to use the expression, for example, anti-Islamic racism, as if an attack on a religion was an attack on an ethnic group. The word Islamophobia, in fact, is beginning to acquire the opprobrium of that was once reserved for racial prejudice. This is a subtle and very nasty insinuation that needs to be met head on. Who said, what if Falwell says he hates fags? What if people act upon that? The Bible says you have to hate fags. If Falwell says he's saying it because the Bible says so, he's right. Yes, it might make people go out and use violence. What are you going to do about that? You're up against a group of people who will say, you put your hands on our Bible or we'll call the hate speech police. Now, what are you going to do when you've dug that trap for yourself?
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the points of digging the trap for yourself is like, how fast do you think it would be before it's all religion that says hate speech is hate speech, if you ever did get that passed into freedom of speech crap? You know, it's just Glenn Greenwald did an episode today just talking about how both Kamala Harris and Tim Walz either feign, maybe it's kayfabe, or do not know what the First Amendment states or says at all, which has been kind of like trippy for me because like just this week on like the Mormon newscast and all that stuff, the entirety of the Mormon newscast this week was spent on all these different like little lawfare claims that people are taking on for the church, you know, and they're gonna fail, but because there are First Amendment protections about the church. Have you followed any of those like little lawsuits that people have done about?
I mean, they pop up all the time, and they always get slapped down under the same religious thing. Like, You were part of a religious organization, and we can't touch that shit. Like,
But I also kind of don't understand like the level of cheering on. Like because we're Eskimos now, we got to cheer on this weird
yeah,
kind of
no,
First Amendment lawfare.
yeah, no, it's absolutely. I mean, that thing's like it's bigotry. Like they anything to hurt the church. Like it's that simple. Does it hurt the church? Okay, good enough.
Good, get them. But just like Hitchens says right there, is like that whole entire speech, that famous speech by Hitchens, is talking about digging yourself into a trap. And the whole entire thing that I was talking about earlier was the tradcast. Like, if you don't think that there's like a tradcast movement that if they could take the reins of power, if they would, they like that's real. Like that's not kayfabe. They're kayfabing their way to the real power. If you're
Yeah,
if
well,
you're not
that's
worried
really
about it.
scary.
A little
Like, can
bit.
you imagine if like Jacob had real power? You know, like that'd be
Or, I
worrying.
mean, we frequently talk about like, you know, currently because they're underdogs, we can kind of like side with like the stuff that Matt Walsh is saying. But then if you also put him in charge of stuff, no, thank you. Like none of us would be down for Matt Walsh being in charge of anything.
Totally, yeah.
Let alone that stuff. But let me see if I pull it up here because I'll show you this weird stuff of like this prayer of like the Saint Patron Michael or something like that. Oh, here, let me pull this first too, because John Kerry was also talking about
Senator John Kerry.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Is he not? He's not senator.
Not John Terry, the English soccer player.
No, that'd be nice.
Everybody's wrestling with that right now.
Yeah, that's
and
John.
I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact have kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree. And,
who did that?
And then people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways.
How do they not see it? I mean, obviously, the same way Hitler didn't see it. Because like Hitler didn't wake up every morning going like, "I am the most evil person on earth. Today, I'm gonna do evil shit." No, he thought he was doing all the good shit. Like just like John Kerry's like, right now he's like, well, as soon as people can't say things I don't like, then we'll finally be able to get our country back together. Like, oh, really? Jesus Christ. These doinks.
Yeah.
That scare me.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, they either don't understand it or feign not understanding it, right? Because
yeah,
I mean, I think it's probably more likely the latter. It's kayfabe. They're pretending to not understand it. But how's this for kayfabe with the wrestlers here? Did you ever hear of like the wrestler Gold Dust?
No. I'm trying to remember. I remember. Okay, all the wrestlers that I can remember from the summer that I watched wrestling, which was like probably about 1990. I remember Hulk Hogan. I remember Andre the Giant. I remember the Bushwhackers.
What? Okay.
It's just because that was the first time I heard that word. That's literally the only reason I remember that there was a duo Because I remember, because I'm like, who are these guys? And my cousins went, Bushwhackers. And I went, what? And they said, Bushwhackers. I'm like, the fuck is that? You said Undertaker. And then I know, like, that's literally about it. Like, I really am.
So tell me you can't figure out the direction society is going with this character Goldust. This guy was introduced in 1995. He's played by Dusty Rhodes, which is like WWE royalty. They're actually the current champions, a guy named Cody Rhodes, who's his brother. But Dusty Rhodes was his dad, who was like the polka dot man, like a wrestler pre-Hulk Hogan era, kind of played a heel all the time. Anyway, supposedly this guy's like as blue collar as it gets, like he's a real blue collar guy. But Vince McMahon got him to play this character, Goldust, and watch Goldust come out. This is 1995.
Welcome, Marlena. Nice to see you. Yes. Maria. Nice to see you. Yes.
He's from Hollywood, USA.
Very nice. Hi there. How are you? Okay. All right.
What year was
See
this?
right there.
95. So he comes out and he's like, he plays like a total like transgender person, is like a total heel for those audiences. Like if you think Sacha Baron Cohen trolled those audiences, this guy trolled those audiences. You know what I mean?
I feel like an asshole for saying what year is this, because it's obvious from Conan's hairline and Andy Richter's gut hasn't grown.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's.
So, Goldust, how are you?
Is there an extra microphone in your pants, or you just happy to see me?
It's actually a microphone. Now, is it? Don't do that. Is it Gold or Mr. Dust? Help me out here. Well, what exactly? What do I?
Mr. Barber, and you can call me anything that you like. Just don't call me late for foreplay.
So that was like a total heel for those WWF audiences all the way back then.
I had no idea about any of this.
But it was so funny because he'd always like do these promos saying like, I come from Hollywood and we do things different in Hollywood. Like he's like, I'm the famous star from Hollywood. And then it's like almost like predicting like where this whole stuff would go. But oh man, they couldn't have him be a heel nowadays, of course, right? They could do that better in 95 than now.
Yeah, that's incredible stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's enough on the freaking. I wonder if Troy made Goldust for his video games. He probably had to. Anyhow, I don't know if I talk anymore about the debates. You remember anything? I guess you only saw a couple moments. They said he had like a Jim Halpert moment where like smiled at the screen, JD Vance and all that sorts of stuff. But
I didn't see it.
I don't know, between like the kayfabe stuff and the Tradcast stuff I'm saying about JD Vance, and then Tim Waltz being Scott Adams has done some hilarious stuff on Tim Waltz lately. Let me see if I can like pull up this moment. Like watch the way Tim Waltz like kicks on stage here. Oh wait, these are kids.
Things.
Have you? Hold on a second. That's the wrong one.
I just like that still right there. That's kind of hilarious because the kid kind of has Hitler's hairline right there.
Yeah, well, this is like a whole news thing that showed like all these like Democrat little kids hate Trump and hate Republicans and all that sorts of stuff. And of course, the Republican kids don't know what's going on at all. They're just not even like introduced to that world.
Yeah, their parents don't let them watch TV.
Yeah,
like,
so they're not getting like inculcated into like a worldview and a thing. From
Mom, can I go to bed? Did you watch MSNBC? I don't wanna finish Rachel Maddow.
Oh wait, before we get that, look at this. Look at what this lady said on Bill Maher here. Hold on, check this one out.
The Democrats had like elected people. The Supreme Court is completely his. It's so disgraceful, this court, that it shouldn't even be allowed to be called the Supreme Court. It's an insult to Motown to call it the Supreme Court. So it's not even a court. It's only a court in the sense that the court of Louis XVI was a court. You know, I mean, basically, it's a harem, okay? It's a harem. It's Trump's harem. So I always feel sorry for the 3 real judges on the court. You know, I know a lot of people have jobs, not me, not you. And you have to go to work every day, and there are people you don't like at work. But can you imagine having to go to work every day? Alito? You have to go to work with Alito, with Kavanaugh, you know? I mean, it must be horrible. So what Biden should do, not that you asked, but when they passed that law, the Supreme Court passed that ruling, you know, where they said, you're not the president, you're the king, which is what that ruling is. You can do whatever you want. You can never be, you know, held responsible. I thought, you know, Biden's still the president. No one seems to notice, but Biden should dissolve the Supreme Court.
Dissolve the Supreme Court?
So,
but they're afraid.
remember,
They've been
Trump-
afraid of their democracy for
Trump is going to destroy America. And
because of the democracy.
Because
Yeah.
the democracy. No, that's
So we need to get rid of the First Amendment and the Supreme Court to save democracy.
Who is that maniac? How is that person allowed? Like, wow, that's astounding stuff. But I mean, that seems like we see here the audience, they just lap it up, yum yum yum, and even Bill Maher, like, you'd think that he'd be pushed back a little bit, but no.
Here's Tim Walz kicking on the stage. What's he doing? It's all
I mean,
kayfabe,
like,
folks.
I mean, I don't know. Like, he's an awkward guy. Maybe he's shifting his weight. He thinks people are going to kick in a second. You know,
We're doing the can or something like that.
We're like, remember, like, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, kick, and everybody else.
So a lot of people like pointed out like he had like big wide eyes through like the whole entire discussion. So I mean, I guess this is all just about vibes. But the other side was talking about how JD Vance is all creepy. He's just creepy and he wears eyeliner and stuff like that. But Scott Adams like had all the stuff where he's talking about the gestures of Tim Walz.
The left is criticizing JD Vance for wearing eyeliner.
They say it looks like he wears eyeliner. Oh yeah, yeah. They're not supposed to.
Why would that be a problem? Like, why would you cause so many teen suicides like that?
Yeah, pretty tough to not cause those teen suicides nowadays, man.
Yeah, no, like you're literally going to put that down. Like, what if a kid is at home right now going like, I wish that I could wear eyeliner and vote Democrat, but they're making fun of that guy, and now I don't know what to feel.
Yeah.
I'd better kill myself. I don't have a choice. I haven't discovered Mormon stories yet. Who will save me?
Scott Adams has all this stuff where he says, so like, look at this. People made like Chad memes of JD Vance, like they changed his face into like the Chad face, and then of course all the Democrats say, "What is this? What is he doing? Why is he changing his face like that?" I hate to show you Divas' self portraits.
Oh my
you know,
God.
it's just one of the things. Everybody on the internet with the AI stuff turns their face into the Chad face. But anyway, Scott Adams says he does like these hand gestures, and one of the ways that he does hand gestures, which isn't going over good, is like he says he claps like a seal. Like when he claps, he holds his hands.
That's not
and he
good.
says he points on stage, but the problem is when he points on stage was what his other hand is doing. His other hand is like this as he goes, hey, stuff, and you know, but. It's all just optics, folks. It's just kayfabe. We're just seeing if we like our heel or if we like our baby face in the end of stuff. And it's all a work. It's all a work.
Comments, Chris. It's Oregon Pinot Noir. It's really good. I haven't had it before. It's on discount, but I'm enjoying it.
Risto's a racist? How'd you
Nice.
become a racist?
Oh, who isn't? Oh, I saw he posted. He and his fetishistic Asian mail order bride that he got because he's a racist and married because of his racism.
Oh, because he's married to like a different race. So he's
yeah,
racist.
no, he married him because remember, like the only reason
fetishized
that
his wife
is he fetishizes them, right? And he also he has this stereotypical patriarchal Eurocentric heteronormative idea that Asian women are submissive, which is like it's kind of funny. Like it's one of those things where it's like the whole idea like Mexicans are lazy, where like you meet Mexicans, you're like the fuck, and then also like Asian women are submissive, and then you meet Asian women, you're like, the fuck? Like, where did these stereotypes come from? Like, yeah, a lot of stereotypes make sense, but some of them are like, the fuck? Like, you ever meet an Asian woman at a poker table?
Oh goodness,
Jesus Christ!
they're aggressive.
Yeah, submissive. Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah, they went and saw the Am I Racist, and I know he learned that he was racist.
Oh, he learned from them.
Wait, here's the thing. I've been wanting to go, but it feels weird to go to a movie theater alone, especially if you're conservative, because Lindsay Hansen Park and her friends will be outside taking notes of all the incel fascists going into the theater.
Charles Wagner says it's a good thing that redheaded school teachers aren't a protected class yet because I fetishized the yeah. Yeah, you can't fetishize.
Yeah, but Risto, you want to come on and do a review of the show? Are you dressed?
What you think about it?
Because I've been thinking about going to review the show, but I just haven't done it. And I got to do it soon because there's no way.
If you want to hear a right winger, a dissident right winger, give a complaining review of it, listen to the Distributist complain about it. He complains that it wasn't as good as Sacha Baron Cohen, and he says once again those guys ripped off another thing that was already big in the zeitgeist. They kind of ripped off Sacha Baron Cohen to do that, and he doesn't think it was good. But I think it looks funny and hilarious and all that sort of stuff.
Well, But I think, didn't Matt Walsh kind of address that where he's like, well, he's not doing the Sacha Baron Cohen thing because like the Sacha Baron Cohen thing involved a lot of setup, you know, ultimately people had to make their own choices, but it was a psychological trick that he was doing with them. Whereas from what I can tell with Matt Walsh, he walks in and just asks basic, ordinary, like the most fundamental 5-year-old questions you might ask. So like right there, if they're not exactly the same thing, like the awkwardness, the humor that results from the awkwardness is the same, but I don't think that their intentions or setup, are at all the same.
I think on some level too, he did say, yeah, we were setting out to do that. Like we're just going to go out and kind of play into something and have the people expose themselves rather than me be the person exposing them or something like that. But I don't know. What other stuff? What stuff? There's actually a lot of stuff we got to get to, but we can talk to Risto about that. Why is this doing this? That's not the thing I wanted to go to. Oh, JD Vance. Well, once again, are you going to vote this year? I don't think I'm going to bother doing it.
Almost certainly not. That thing's like, generally speaking, I only vote on referenda because, it's the only time my vote actually counts for anything.
Look who it is. It's a Risto. And it's sunny. Here. It's sunny in Minnesota. Sunny Minnesota.
What? Is that allowed?
No. It's got to be a background. What's happening? We're here. We got a live review of Am I a Racist? Which we already
were
know
there protesters outside with signs? Oh, he's got no volume. You got no microphone.
I don't think it's on my end though. Like it says that it's there.
No, I think it's his end. He's got to adjust his settings.
Well, we'll find something to talk amongst ourselves in the meantime until it's.
How's that?
There it is.
Remember to donate to Thoughtful Faith.
What are you drinking?
H2O.
Oh, boo! Flip's sinning, I'm sinning, and you're holding down the word of wisdom. Boo!
Water from a little jar. It's even the jar that you drink moonshine from, but it's just water.
Yeah.
All right. What's the review of the? When'd you go?
Just tonight.
Just barely.
Wow, fresh. This is like a Red Letter Media review of Star Wars, where he gets back from the theater and he does it. Fun.
Yeah. It's pretty well done. Which is probably why it's making so much. I think it's almost made 12 million at the box office.
Dang.
Really?
And I was surprised by how
Wait. Megalopolis did 4 million.
Have you heard reviews about Megalopolis?
Movie?
Have you heard about it?
I need to go see it.
Oh
I'm
my
desperate
gosh,
to
people
see
are
it.
saying it's like as bad as The Room, and it's gonna like make what's his name, Francis Ford Coppola's career, like it's gonna be like a
Well,
stadium theater.
he's 84 years old.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't think he was gonna hurt his legacy. Although, I guess it could. I wonder.
All right.
Like, I'm desperate to see. But anyway, we were talking about that other show. But I can't believe that $12 million.
Yeah. I was surprised by how many people were there. Like, it's been out how many weeks?
Quite a bit.
Well,
Nothing stays in the theater that long anymore.
Do you
Yeah,
live
I've
in
been
the
to movies.
Somalian part of Minnesota or in the fascist part of Minnesota?
There is a Somalian part, right?
There is. Where I live, there's Somalis. There's some Somalis in my city.
There's some Ollies.
Yeah, some Somalis. But this is in a smaller town where, I mean, there's some diversity in this town, but I don't think there's a lot of Somalis there.
Mm.
And there weren't feminists outside holding signs saying "Shame, fascist."
No.
Oh, disappointing.
I was telling Julie on our drive back, we were kind of talking about the movie afterwards, and I was telling her, I don't know. I think it's kind of a waste of Matt Walsh's talent.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm confused.
Why would you say that?
Julie doesn't sound like a Cambodian name. Is that the slave name you gave her?
No. So her middle name is Cambodian, Tida, but her parents named her after the nurse that helped deliver her.
That's really her name. That's not like a name.
They came to our culture and appropriated our names.
Oh yeah,
This keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, her dad is totally a assimilator. Let's assimilate into.
Well, that's what we need. Those are the migrants we need. Like,
please tell me they ran an
that's
ice cream
really
shop
the
in San Ramon, California.
that's the entirety of all that you need from an immigrant. That's it. All that you need is that they want to be part of this. You know, that's it. Like that's the real only requirement. You know what I mean?
I'm playing fucking asshole, but like this is all. But because I mean that's things like I am a guy with a mixed up name. Like my first name is classically English. My middle name is old school Portuguese. It's not even modern Portuguese. It's old school. So I know exactly how this feels, and like, you know, just that. Like my parents had that same attitude. Like, hey, we're gonna do a little bit of everything, because we are a little bit of everything.
So I have this long-standing theory that I mean, I guess I could probably go prove. My mom's a genealogist and all that sort of stuff. I'm super Irish, and I had no idea I was Irish.
We
and
can tell from the head.
Mormonism. Well, I didn't know, and you should have told me all those years you saw my head, and I didn't know. I didn't know because I swear that my family hid from their Irishness by becoming Mormon. You know, that's how they became Mormon, because there was a lot of different like Irish struggles and problems back in like the Appalachian areas where they lived and grew from, and one of the ways to get out of it is to go become a Mormon. You know, that's what I believe, but because there's like not even like a hint of it, and the Mormonism wipes out like that old stuff. Like it says like don't hold on to any of your old traditions. You know?
Well, it's well, and it definitely hits on Americanism. I took a hike today with some Mormon missionaries. The new missionaries in town tracked me down, so I took them to our local.
They're gonna try again, huh?
Somewhere there's a big book with a note that says "friendly."
When there's nothing to do, Risto will talk to you.
Because here's the thing: is like if it's like because the other thing is like as just knowing as a missionary, like if it's hot outside and there's air conditioning and something cold to drink and meaningful conversation, like that's just.
Oh, I would have taken talking to you all day, every day.
That's nugget. Like that's just the best.
You do just get pressure to not do it. Like you get pressure. They don't want if you're not getting anywhere, you're not supposed to. But the missionaries themselves generally love it. They just start feeling a little bit of guilt.
And I keep getting you off track, but like if you want to give the missionaries the biggest blessing in the world and make them the happiest they could be, like if you need a bunch of wood chopped or a fence painted or like just any reason to get into
put them up to it,
get dirty, fucking they want to do it.
I would have been doing.
They
backflips.
want to do it. Anyway,
Anything besides going and knocking on doors. But,
and any excuse to not wear a fucking shirt and tie.
well,
Anyway,
as long as it's not too difficult, I think we haven't put the missionaries to too much work, but one time we did have them help dig in a hole, and some of them weren't super excited about that.
Oh, man, we helped a guy pour concrete. I was so into it.
we helped the guy pour concrete doing a Mexican dump truck. You know what that is? That's 15 different guys carrying up steps, cement in these buckets that just had wire handles that ripped into our fingers. And it was the best day of my life on the mission. It was so hard work. It was so bad. And I wasn't knocking doors.
Yeah, Troy, what was service like in Korea? Did you get to do service? Were they too proud to let weird American guys help them out? Is Troy still in the chat? But at some point, we're going to get a review of Am I Racist? We're the best podcast ever.
We need to milk the time here, man.
Oh, well, I'll jump in with the thing I was going to say, because I know that Risto is another film guy. Because when it comes to documentaries, now obviously this is kind of a different genre within the documentary genre, but like I used to get in raging fights with my friend about is Michael Moore a documentarian, and I always took the line like, he's a propagandist. Whereas like for me, like the best documentarian of documentary movies that I ever loved was Errol Morris. If you ever saw those, like Thin Blue Line, Vernon, Florida, Gates of Heaven, Tabloid. He did Tabloid, the famous Mormon in Chains. Mr. Death, one of my favorite documentaries ever. He did this documentary about a guy called Fred Leuchter, who was an engineer who designed, built, and maintained lethal injection machines for states to do executions. And then, like, on the strength of his expertise as an expert in murdering people, he got hired by what's his name? David something or other, the Canadian Holocaust denier. And the guy like got roped. Anyway, fucking fat. But so I'm bringing all this to say, because like what I love about Errol Morris is that he's famous for just point the camera at the person, let them talk. And you rarely hear his voice. Now with Matt Walsh, obviously a little bit different because it's following him around. But like in that sense of like a documentary is like, did you get the feeling that the story was unfolding for you, or did you get the feeling that you were being tugged along? That was a long preamble to that question.
For sure, tugged along. For sure, crafted.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like, I feel like Borat, I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've seen clips. You know, I know, like, what his shtick is, Sacha Baron Cohen. But I feel like he's definitely wanting to push people. But they both are kind of letting people kind of giving them rope and letting them hang themselves. So it was interesting. It was interesting watching it with Julie because she's not as plugged into the culture wars. And so like for her, it was a little bit like, whoa, I didn't realize like how bad some of this stuff is.
You didn't know that those trainings were like that?
I knew. She didn't.
Oh, she didn't. Okay.
Well, so, I mean, Kate, Cambodian. I'm guessing she's roughly of our generation, which means that her parents would have been.
They put through year zero and all that
Khmer
stuff.
Rouge, right? Or were they in America before that?
Did they run into
her family lived through the Khmer Rouge?
No
so
way.
Does she like, because that's the thing is like, I know just, you know, from talking or just whatever, from the whole world that like, these communities that have these types of things, like for example, there's a really amazing interview with Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee, because they were both the children of Yugoslavian Holocaust survivors, and they kind of talked about how within like the Canadian Yugoslavian Jewish survivor community, there were kind of two schools. One which was, we talk about this, we remember it, because we have to remember it. It's part of our history. And the other school is like, fucking forget it. The kids don't need to know about this. We don't need to remind of this all the time. And so I kind of wonder, like, is there a similar thing in the Khmer Rouge stuff, if you know? And like, did Julie get one version of that or the other?
Kind of in the middle, I would say. So they would talk about it some, but not tons. Like they went through some hellish things. Her dad's first wife died during the Khmer Rouge. Her dad had
killing
another.
fields.
I don't remember at what part she did, but during the Khmer Rouge, and then he had a daughter that also died, and her older brother spent his early years in Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge while it was going on.
Crazy.
I have a friend, a good friend of mine, whose mom, I think his dad was in the military. He never met his dad. He was born over there, but the Khmer Rouge killed his dad and forced his mom to cook up his dad's liver and feed it to them, and had her eat it before she served it to them. And then
So she was on the side where she learned about it. I guess that's the answer.
She went crazy after that, or not? I don't know about crazy, but she.
You're not okay after that. Nobody's okay after that.
No. So the stories are just nuts.
If anybody's interested, you know that Angelina Jolie made a movie about the killing fields.
Is it any good?
It's good. It's really well done. And actually, if you've seen her, like she's like left Hollywood and all that sorts of stuff. You know, her dad, John Voight's like all conservative and stuff. I think she's kind of hinting at being this for like a little while here. She made this whole movie here. First, They Killed My Father, 2017.
Huh.
It's really good. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the stories that I've heard just over the years it's pretty wild what they went through.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this isn't the only movie about it. There's been a couple. Oh, dang. I wish I could remember a couple of them, but holy crap. Like those killings were the most evil thing in the world, and the way that they would make kids and family members participate in it and even like have to show joy or they'd be in trouble while they were killing a family member.
They had the teenagers had the job of killing the toddlers by swinging them by their legs and smacking their heads across the trunks of a hardwood tree. And they did this specifically to save bullets that they needed to fight Vietnamese communists. Because that's the way that works. And then that's the thing is like and the teenagers doing this had to express joy in their work. Otherwise, they would be next because they would be suspected. And it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So were they refugees from that time frame, or did they come after?
Yeah. So they escaped Cambodia towards the end of the Khmer Rouge. They trekked through the jungle and made it to Thailand.
That's the way they go. Like the Mongs made the same route. Like it was the exact same route for the Mongs.
And then a lot of families, they stayed in the refugee camps for a while, but her family got sent over really fast. So her family, her dad is like the godfather, the godfather of the Cambodian community here. Her family was like the first Cambodian family here. So they came over in 79, and then Julie was born here.
And they opened up their first ice cream shop in 1980.
The ice cream is that an actual Cambodian thing? I don't know if you're doing
it is like something like 80% of California ice cream shops are run by Cambodians. Like you know how like
bring them in.
Like, you know how like Koreans got bodegas, Chinese people got laundromats, Cambodians got ice cream. Like I don't know how these things get selected, but that's how that shook out.
Charles says, but America is still just the fucking worst, right? Troy says that they did do service projects in Korea in the late 80s. Korea was still developing then, so we actually did our educational work in dirt road villages. Ooh.
Because there was that period of time that was enormously embarrassing where North Korea actually had a stronger economy than the South. But it was brief and artificial, obviously.
Do you guys remember that breakdancing dad who complained about, like, his daughter complained about him, and then he had this like big viral back and forth?
Oh yeah.
He married a Cambodian too, and he did a whole story about his wife's story coming to the U.S. So it's pretty good.
But does Julie make that crazy pickled vegetable thing? I don't know.
How
what
do
it's
you know of a crazy pickled vegetable thing and not know the exact name of the thing? This is the first time I've
I'll
never
tell
seen
you why,
not
because
know the exact name.
because when I was 10 years old, my dad taught English as a sacred language night courses, and he had a bunch of Cambodian refugees. This would have been again about 1990, same time I was into wrestling, and one day they brought a jar of stuff, and I just remember that it was like sweet mix of pickled vegetables, and I loved it.
Carrots? Were there carrots in it?
Yeah, like I remember, like I think it was cabbage, carrots, just all kinds of stuff. It was almost like one of those like Italian garden salads, but Cambodian style.
Yeah,
I remember really liking it.
I mean, they're Asians, so they have all kinds of fermented pickle things. There's not just one kind.
Yeah,
but
no,
I
yeah,
know which
exactly.
one you're talking about.
Yeah, man. That's things like I remember like in the 90s, like my dad, because I'm like I was asking my dad, like, what the fuck is this? He's like, I'm teaching English for these people. I'm like, why? He's like, because they're refugees. I'm like, why? And I'm like, because their country is full of war. And I'm like, why? And he's like, and I'm like, I'm only 10, and my dad didn't know that much, and he couldn't explain the Khmer Rouge to me. But like I remember as a kid seeing being in that room full of all those Cambodians trying to learn English, and then as an adult realizing like, holy shit, this is what these guys actually got out of. Because this was, like I said, 1990, so only 10 years after the end of the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah. My in-laws are not fans of communism.
Oh yeah, but
weird.
Are they fascists? Will they vote for Trump?
They will vote for Trump.
Really?
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Really?
Funny.
That's funny. Wait,
got the Cambodian vote locked down.
They're not at all worried about the white ethno state that is going to subjugate them as second-class citizens. Like they speak English, right? They've been here.
Hey,
long
Reese,
enough.
though, is there a big Cambodian like faction in Minnesota, or did they just get there?
Well, no, there was a fair amount here that kind of came to this area. I don't think it's like one of the biggest areas in the country, like Long Beach, California, and out east. There's some bigger communities, but there's definitely Cambodians here.
So I was like hoping like maybe there was like a Somali versus Cambodian like vote thing happening there that actually mirrors the national debate going on.
The largest state. So there's a lot of Hmongs out there. That's right. The largest Hmongs are California, Minnesota, and Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's tons of Hmong in St. Paul. Tons.
Oh man, have you seen their wonderful ties? They make these crazy, intricate beaded neckties. Oh, anyway.
So,
should I go watch Am I Racist, or should I just wait for Streeter to drop a pirated link for us? What? See, he's ordering her around right now with his white.
Oh my gosh, I can't take the mansplaining.
So I watched 2 movies this week. I watched Am I Racist, and then our family watched Drunken Angel.
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
Drunken Angel from Kurosawa.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know that one.
You said you didn't love it, right? Or did I read that wrong?
That was a different Kurosawa one that I did not love. But Drunken Angel, I did love. So I would tell people, don't waste your time with Am I Racist? Everybody already, if you already know about the culture wars, then you already know. You're not going to learn anything new.
Just wait till it comes out.
Is it not even worth it?
That's really good.
Is it not even worth it to see Robin DiAngelo embarrass herself, or is I'm
going to watch it. I don't know that I'm going to ever go to the theater to see it, but I'll see it.
Yeah,
unless I have to subscribe to the Daily Wire to see it. Like I hope it comes out on some sort of Netflix or HBO or something like that.
Wait. So what year is Drunken Angel?
That's
48.
Mifune's first movie with Kurosawa.
He would have been a baby in 1948.
Yeah.
Does he have such a young face?
He is. Yep. He plays a young Yakuza.
Oh, Yakuza.
It's it's rough, it's old, but like it has really good heart to it.
What channel is it on? Is it on HBO channel?
Or Criterion or Archive.org.
HBO Max has a bunch of the Criterion selection.
Yeah, or Archive.org has it for free. But Kurosawa, a lot of his movies, right, are kind of like Dostoevsky-esque, where it's kind of it's talking about like human motivations and like someone's struggle to do the right thing, and Drunken Angels like very much that.
Huh. It's like I know I saw like from his early stuff, I saw the Those Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail. Like that's the only thing I think I saw that's from the 40s by him. So I'm really curious to watch this one.
Yeah. It'd been a while since I watched it. I wasn't sure if it was going to hold up. You go back and watch it again. And for me, it held up. I was like, ooh, that's really good. I like that.
I definitely have kind of an old man fuddy-duddy thing when I go back and watch stuff now, where like because I'm just more mature, I've seen more and I know more about like the nuts and bolts of filmmaking, and like I appreciate the hard work and craft so much more. Like when I went back to watch Hidden Fortress, and I realized like because like when you're a kid you're just like oh, that's a shot of mountains. But like when you realize like just how much went into like getting the lighting and the setting and the right day to have the clouds actually zipping over the top of the peaks, and it's all just so fucking perfect. And it's anything but.
And they couldn't cheat it with digital stuff. But...
And he couldn't cheat, and he probably had people waiting around all day going like, not enough clouds, and just all those little things like.
But this is one of the things that I noticed because
they used to have to build sets. And like, because now it's like, no, we'll fix it in
but
post.
you kind of have to sit there and appreciate it in that sense. Sometimes I think most Kurosawa I've ever seen holds up all the way through because it would hold up as a stage play. You know what I mean? But some of like the Hitchcock stuff I watch, and I kind of go, okay, so half of what's interesting about this is the major set, is the major thing. What's the one? The window one. What was it called?
Rear Window.
Rear Window. That thing has a set that is basically an entire New York City block, which is a set, right? And so that's amazing. But then at the same time, if you stop and think, if I'm watching this as a movie and that's supposed to be a New York block, and I'm actually just trying to watch this as a New York block, that's not good. You know what I mean? It's not realistic looking in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But you have to stop and appreciate the massive set that was done and used and all that sort of deal. And so it's like that one is almost only appreciated as the weird feat of the time. And there's so much like I struggle sometimes watching some of those old movies like the Sergio Leone movies and all that sorts of stuff because the editing of the things are kind of like long and slow and cut weird and all that sorts of stuff. And they wouldn't cut anything like that nowadays. But you have to like stop and think like these guys were filming on film. They didn't get to watch like dailies of like what they caught or got. So if they're doing like all these like shots on a train, they almost didn't even know what they had for months. They didn't know what they actually got for months. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that blows my mind,
Like, I mean, I think about that shot from High and Low when it's like the drug addict making the call from the phone booth by the rattly train line in the slum. And then but you can see all the way to the top of the hill where Toshiro Mifune's house is. And it's like a modern 1960s. And you just think like he had this scout. He probably scouted for days trying to find I need the place. I need the right place. I need the right place. I need the right place. And now it's just just hire a bunch of animators to make me a cityscape. And and it's it's also empty and soulless. And I go back and watch that old stuff and I just get so excited to just think about the work and the craftsmanship and how much thought, just that whole stereotypical Japanese like ridiculous attention to detail, which is like what Kurosawa embodied, but like you see it in his movies, like just how good the film still looks, like just that kind of thing. Like you see fucking TV shows shot in America on film in the 70s, and they don't look anything as good as shit Kurosawa was shooting in the 50s.
Yeah, it was tough. It must have been a nightmare and impossible to do it, and risky and scary and all that sort of stuff too.
Oh yeah, well that's the famous thing is that when they decided to make Tora Tora Tora, because it was a famously like they're like, hey, we're gonna make the movie of Pearl Harbor, and in a show of post-war liberal tolerance and goodwill and artistic endeavor, we're gonna do a joint production between America and Japan. And so of course Japan is like, well, our man is Kurosawa. And like there's a famous story where like Kurosawa like went to LA to meet the American producers, and they like wrote a letter to the Japanese guy saying like, who is this maniac? Is this a joke? This guy is insane. We can't work with this nutcase. And it sent Kurosawa into a suicidal depression, And it was a mistake because Tora 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 was a turd, and the only thing that could have made it better was letting Kurosawa have the reins.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't think like some of his stuff is just gold for me. Especially, I mean, there's some stuff that's just artistically gold. Yojimbo, it's just artistically gold. Sanjuro, and Dersu, Ursula, the Russian one. It's artistically gold.
See, I need to
but
see that one.
What I love best about his movies are that, like, they're relatable. Like Drunken Angel, I can like relate to these different characters in the movie, in their like life situations. Like it's kind of like it's like a commentary or like a parable on life, and it's like, oh yeah, I can. He
does like the great thing of like, so Hilo, you can sit there and imagine yourself as any one of those characters. Like it's not just I'm just gonna identify with the protagonist. It's like, oh gosh, what if I was the guy put in this spot, or what if I was the guy put in that spot, or what if I was, it's all of them.
Kurosawa makes me think of like when I go back and watch British sitcoms from the 70s, and then you contrast that to things now, and you just think about Mr. Plinkett. And the thing about Kurosawa is that even though everything is in a foreign language and a foreign culture that expresses itself very differently from us, the thing about Kurosawa is you're never confused. You're never, ever confused about what anybody's motivations or thinking are or anything like that.
And part of that's just the blocking.
Being hidden from you
part of that's just how he blocks it too. It's like the stuff Red Letter Media says, like your brain, your mind didn't recognize it, but your brain did, or
you didn't notice it, but your brain did.
Yeah. But in the so supposedly they're going to reboot Hilo with Spike Lee, right? Did they already say that for sure Denzel's cast as
I think they're done filming.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I see. Well, because it didn't like something came out and they already said like I know because I commented on it, but he said like, hey, this isn't a remake. This is a reboot or rethinking or a whatever.
Well, see, but I would think that if they were going to do like a hacky current day version, Denzel couldn't be the guy who's the rich guy. You know what I mean? And or do you think they could still make it hack with him being in that spot?
Oh yeah. I think he could pull it off, definitely. Because Denzel kind of has that respect, kind of like he carries himself with kind of that respectableness. And in High and Low, it's like the guy started really humble, right? And he worked his way up. I can see that with Denzel, definitely.
Well, and the whole thing starts out with a fascinating commentary on capitalism. Because the whole it's funny because this is a suspense movie and it's just classically Kurosawa because like the first 20 minutes is a bunch of extremely wealthy Japanese guys arguing about shoe company strategy and whether they should make cheap, profitable shoes that make a lot of money in the short term. And Toshiro Mifune is like, no, we need to make low profit, high quality shoes that engender brand loyalty, and that's. Like it's just amazing again because Kurosawa was like, it's Japanese guys arguing about shoes and you're just enthralled by the whole thing.
Right.
And then of course the twist comes out when Toshiro Mifune reveals that he's done behind the scenes maneuverings and he owns the company now. And you think that's what the story's about. and then kaboom, the real story happens. God damn, I need to watch that movie again. So great.
Well, it has a criticism of capitalism for sure, but then also you could say it's a criticism against Marxism.
Yeah,
because of like the low has the high has its issues and the low have their issues. Both of them have their issues.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's too Dostoevsky level. Like it gives every side its due. Like 100%.
Like everybody is relatable. Everybody, you empathize with everybody. Like.
But that's what I fear a modern current day person
sense.
can't do. Like a Spike Lee, a current day telling must moralize on one side or the other. It can't.
Hello. Oh.
You're not hearing us?
No, it's back. I just dropped it.
Yeah, I'm honored. Like a Spike Lee, although Spike Lee, I don't think has like a straight track record of only moralizing on one side. I think he's shown. I remember that movie 25th Hour with Ed Norton. I think that showed pretty good view of what the guy who was going to prison, the white guy going to prison's tough situation was. And like Spike Lee doesn't just have to be hacky. So he could pull it off.
Yeah,
but it's so difficult in the modern, like in our current age. Like, how do you make the guy at the bottom look bad? I feel like we don't want to do that. It's kind of it's like the noble person at the bottom.
But I also feel like he wouldn't be able to put Denzel in that top spot of being the rich guy who suddenly might not want to pay out that money when he finds out it's not his kid who's in ransom and something like that. He has to be just a noble guy, but I still will pay. End of movie. You know what I mean? Like I am a good black rich man. End. The end.
Yeah, that's an interesting movie because when I first watched it, I thought it was just like okay. I would have put it low on my Kurosawa list. But then I watched it again being like middle-aged, and it hit me way different.
Have you ever watched like YouTube videos on how the blocking is on that? Like how genius the blocking is in just that movie?
Yeah.
There's a couple of I forget the guy's name, like Folding Ideas or something like that.
Every frame of painting.
Every frame of painting, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy good stuff.
No, because like that's one of those things where because I watched a whole bunch of Kurosawa when I was right before my mission and then in the immediate aftermath of the divorce time. I went on crazy Kurosawa runs. And when I was 17, 18 watching them, I had all of those things that I didn't realize until like 20 years later were those you didn't notice it, but your brain did with Kurosawa. And because I didn't know the word blocking until I was like 35. I didn't know what that was. But as a kid, I remember thinking about Kurosawa, like the way it stuck in my brain, the way that other films just didn't. Because I'd watch a lot of Kurosawa movies, and at the end I'd be like, I'm not sure what all happened, and it's kind of boring, But I watched it all, especially Kagemusha, where it's wait, the good guys all die, and the bad guys win. But it stayed with me in a way that Transformers 1 just never can.
Yeah.
Well, and he based his stuff. He read a ton, so he's building his work on top of Dostoevsky and all kinds of things. So there's just so much depth there down below.
Well, yeah, Rashomon was a famous play written in the 1920s. He just took that and adapted that to film. Oh, that's a big truck.
It's far away. Anyway,
good time.
Should we move on to subjects? You want to hang out and talk other stuff with us, Risto, or
do you have pickled carrots?
I would love to, but it's about 11 here. I probably should drop off. So,
alrighty.
Boo! No,
I'm not going to buy a ticket to I'm a Racist because of you. Good job.
Yeah, you just saved. I don't know, Robin DiAngelo from sneering embarrassment from two critical eyes.
She can get back on Twitter.
I'm gonna save the money. I'm gonna save the money I would have spent on Am I Racist, and I'm gonna get a ticket to Megalopolis in IMAX.
No, you gotta watch the reviews of that stuff, man.
I'm gonna smoke. I'm gonna smoke a gigantic joint, and I'm gonna go watch Megalopolis with the big. That's the thing is I asked our friend Doodles. I'm like, hey dude, do you want to go see Megalopolis in IMAX with me? He's like, IMAX. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I've got one eye. I'm like, oh fuck, that's not
Rude.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's like, yeah, I totally microaggressed our one-eyed friend. Like, IMAX doesn't work with his disability.
It's got a 35% audience review on the Rotten Tomatoes, 47 from the critics.
That's like, because this thing's like, this is why I want to see it, is because I know I will get my value out of it, because like I like good film enough that if it's a great film by a one of the great masters of film, Francis Ford Coppola, then I'll be satisfied. And if it's a bizarre, incomprehensible, expensive train wreck by an 84-year-old kook that has completely lost his way, I will enjoy that too. So
I've heard many TikTok reviews from people who seem to know their stuff about movies that say it is definitely the latter there.
Well,
it sounds so weird and whacked out. Have you seen like any of like the trailer clips?
I watched the trailer.
So goofy, man.
Yeah, no, it looks crazy, but man,
I love Francis Ford Coppola.
Because like the other thing is like it ties a lot of things together. About because many years ago, way back when Adam Carolla invented podcasting as a career for TV, comedy, radio personalities. One of his early interviews was a long interview with Francis Coppola, and this was like early 2000s, and Carolla asked Coppola like you're one of the greatest filmmakers ever. You made fucking Godfather. Why don't you make movies anymore? And he said, because it's not fun and there's no money in it. That's why I make wine now, right? So he made wine for 20 years, made $1 billion at that. Literally, he sold his wine company for $1 billion, turned him into a billionaire. And so, okay, now, like, he gets all the money in the world.
He funded this movie.
He funded it himself. Like, nobody got to tell him what to do. Like, he probably, like, the budget was 120. They saved 15 million on advertising. They say they always underestimate those. I'm guessing it was 200 million bucks. Like, and so like it's you got to see like what did he come up with? Like, just that thing. Like, okay, like you've got all the money, you've got all the power. No one can tell you no. What do we get, Francis? So like for me, that's worth the price of the ticket. But I guess we'll see.
But you have a high threshold for weird,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
You like City of Lost Children, right? Am I right?
I loved that movie. That was my first favorite movie that was like not for kids,
Yeah, people are saying like if you don't like David Lynch stuff or something like that, do not go see it. And they say like normies are walking out on it like an hour in and all that stuff. So.
Well, because the other thing is because like like the Red Letter Media guys talk about that like what makes a good bad movie? Like why is Sharknado not a good bad movie when good bad movies are good? And I think the RLM guys, Mike Stacklasa, hits it on the head, is that it has to be sincere. The people have to have been really trying their best and really had to believe in the movie. So that's why Plan 9 from Outer Space is such a good bad movie, because Ed Wood was not fucking around. It wasn't kayfabe. He believed in that shit. And so like if Coppola believes in Megalopolis and it comes through, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I saw somebody give a review where he talked about all the possible types of bad movies that could feasibly be good because of this, because of that. And he says, this trumps all of them. It's just bad. that's
wow.
What he said.
See, like, that's so bad. Like, you have to know. It's like if Gordon Ramsay opened a restaurant and everybody's like, this is the worst thing I've ever eaten. Like, I'd have to be like, how did it happen? What happened? What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite movies has a 20% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So
what's this?
Tiger in the Snow.
I don't know that one.
By Roberto Benigni.
Oh boy. Oh. I gotta check that out.
It's good.
Like I like Eric the Viking, and that was one of the only movies that Roger Ebert gave 0 stars.
Really?
Yeah. It's a great. I mean, it's a flawed movie, but I think it's got its charm, and the cast is incredible. It's
It's got Tim Robbins, John Cleese, Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rooney, Eartha Kitt, Tim McInerney. Like, just a crazy cast.
Well, Tiger in the Snow, if you ever watch it, you have to watch to the end. But it's super good. It has Tom Waits doing music for it.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah.
See, I kind of wonder though, like, but that's the thing though, is it like, 20% on Rotten Tomatoes? Like, I mean, that's the other thing, like Mike Ciclassa talks about. Is it the thing where it's like there's a big divide between audience and critics? Or is it one where even critics were like, oh,
audience is 84.
Critics are shit? Oh, wow.
The critics
Tom Waits was in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Oh, I need to watch that Dracula. I haven't seen that.
He played Renwald.
Oh. Huh. Man,
Yeah.
not enough time
All right,
for
guys.
all the movies.
I'm gonna head out. So,
all right, later, man. Thanks for the review.
Cool.
Yeah, adios.
See you.
Speaking of which, did you ever hear that the Heath Ledger based his Joker off of Tom Waits' mannerisms? That's yeah. And then Tom Waits is in that Coen Brothers movie, but Battle of Buster Scruggs. So he popped up in several different movies. I think Lynch has used him in some stuff too. But anyway, Nemo got Exxed.
Oh, that's right. The inevitable happened.
That happened this week, and
everybody cried.
We've been arguing about it. There's Jared.
All the ex-Mormons cried
about it.
The soul destroying.
It was the saddest thing.
The soul destroying, fraudulent, bank account draining, life controlling, lying, homophobic cult threw out a guy that didn't want to be a part of it. What a tragedy.
There's Bill saying to somebody, the other side sends out 65,000 barely adults to knock on doors and spread the message. Heaven forbid he put out a couple posts in the video. And Jared says that you just pointed out right there. He calls himself the other side. Like, you are the other side.
Yeah.
Like, you frame it as he is not with that thing.
There you go.
But
good old Jared.
There's all this stuff. And Jonathan put...
Where is Jared tonight? I know he said he couldn't.
He said he couldn't make it. I don't know. He didn't say. He commented on Evil's thing. If you're searching for a new manager in your martyrhood campaign, I think I could help you milk this for years to come. First step for the next couple years, we're going to pretend we want you to get rebaptized, and the oppressive church just won't take you back for no discernible reason. Obviously, we'll know the very valid reasons, but that's just between us. The tip's free, kid, but I'll have to charge you for any more. Reach out to me. You're going to go far in the business of feigned victimhood.
You know what?
There's our Mega Chad divas. We made a Mega Chad divas.
We just need a new revelation because, obviously, because Nemo's talked about is that the church has an extremely evil and racist doctrine that says that there was a war in heaven in the pre-existence and that 1/3 of souls were wishy-washy and they were born as black people, and this is awful. But here's the thing that we didn't know until now is that 1% of souls were sneaky two-faced dickheads, and God made them boss-eyed.
Rude. Jonathan made a post that he put on Mormon Stories right after it came out. If I can find it somewhere in here. Where the heck did it go? Oh, look at this. I like this from Michael Malice. More kayfabe. You had what's this guy's name? Dave. What's his name? Dave Bautista. Put out a thing I voted for Harris, and then Michael Malice puts this thing. Dave Bautista stops taking testosterone and becomes a Harris voter.
For just a second, I'm like, why does RuPaul look so pale? And then I realized,
a lot of people were talking. He dropped a ton of muscle.
That's just a man wearing
off the roids.
But
he was a major WWE star.
He's wearing pearls in a woman's sport coat. I'm not crazy, am I?
No, it came out and everyone's like, why does this guy suddenly look like RuPaul or something like that? And he was a long time WWE mega roider type dude. But Where'd it go? Oh man, remember old John, Commie John? Like, there's the Khmer Rouge, John Larson. Where'd it go? I swear I had it here. Jonathan made some crocodiles with with him, but he had a post that he posted inside of here. I got it. Let me see. I'll share it this different way. But he put on Mormon Stories podcast the thing from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He says, "Let's go to ex-Mormonism, 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 ex-Mormonism," and then it shows Nemo doing the here it is. Shows Nemo doing the the what is that, Christ dinner or whatever, the Last Supper picture in his white suit, and then on second thought, let's not go there. 'Tis a silly place. And Nemo liked it. He saw it. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, because like on that subject is Streeter. Streeter is working his way to be excommunicated from ex-Mormonism.
Yeah,
like, we're seeing it all the time. Like,
poking him. He keeps poking him.
He keeps poking him, and like I think like it's kind of the same thing. Like, but like now, obviously, Streeter's not two-faced about it because, like, I mean, I don't think we're telling tales out of school. Where Streeter's basically done, like, you know, he's got nothing more to say about Mormonism. You know.
Well, I guess him and Troy are coming out with. I mean, I showed the thing. Maybe that's showing it like a little bit too early, but him and Troy are gonna have this.
They do such a better show than us.
Oh, geez. Well, all it takes is a little bit of effort, a little bit of time and effort. But even the parts of our show that are done well, it's usually because he helped us with something. But let's see here. They had, where'd it go? This Lisa Simpson, is there value in the myth of an ideal? That's Troy and Jonathan. They're going to do that pretty quick here, coming out soon.
Man, they got Simpsonized. I don't want to be Simpsonized.
I wanted to toot my own fun horn a little bit because Nemo's live chat there. Nemo's live chat, I took an opportunity to try out a little bit of a Cockney accent. And I can't do the accent, but the Cockney, like,
the Cockney slang.
The rhyme word slang stuff.
The rhyming slang, yeah.
Yeah, and so I started
like
saying,
that. I think most people could not figure out what you were doing. They were so confused.
I say, "Oi, Nemo, word in me loaf is that you might be thinking about launching another one of those phony tear-jerking campaigns, like a proper limey trying to pull wool over everyone's mince pies. Mince pies are eyes, like pulling wool over everybody's mince pies because they always rhyme. Like in Cockney accents, there's like a double word rhyme to say some word, and stirring up a right Barney with some other outfit. You ain't going to be tossing any more emotional apples and pears, are you? Just to make them feel the right lemons. It's like somebody says, "Are you speaking Russian? What are you doing?" I'm just being a dickhead to him. He says, "Just making sure you ain't playing to stir the pot again like some Ponzi drama queen in a whistle and flute. Cheers, mate. Let us know what's up with your Jim Jam this time. Tell you what, mate, I can't Adam and Steve it." Let's Adam and Steve it is in place of believe it. I can't Adam and Steve it. They gave you the old tin tack from the church just because you've been doing everything but selling your grandma to tear it down for a few extra bees and honey. You know, bees and honey in place of money or something like that. But I'm just being a dickhead over there, which was fun.
Yeah, you're better at dealing with them than I am. Like for some reason, I have this retarded idea that at some point they'll be rational, and I don't know why I believe that. Just there's no good reason for me to think that any of them will ever come around.
Well, I mean, part of it is we've always said, and people were even saying it to them on the live stream there. Bambi, who's sometimes our thing, popped up on them and said that he didn't like it, and they read his super chat, and then Bambi was later saying the thing like, all of us got X'd from ex-Mormonism. Like, why are we not allowed to comment on Mormon stories or anything like that? I could comment on Nemo's stream so far, but I guess I'll get kicked out for that or something like that. But I mean, they didn't kick me out. But anyway,
yeah. I mean, I've been thrown out of ex-Mormonism. They don't have a problem with that.
No. Webster's dictionary defines nuance as left wing. Man.
Is that a Jared original? Do we know?
Yeah, I think it is. So more to Jonathan. Why Jonathan? You said he's doing the trolling over there. He posted on Mormon stories something about the oppressive Mormon patriarchy, and of course it whipped him up and got him all mad. The oppressive Mormon patriarchy. Look at that smug, arrogant face, wielding his scepter of priesthood authority while seated in the velvet throne of his self-important ego. He puts the dick in Melchizedek. He holds family evenings purely so he can make a show of his power. He thinks being a provider gives him the right to be respected. What an asshole. Share your own examples of oppressive priesthood patriarchy in the comments. And then he came up like with this meme thing from like listening to our show. Like, what was it? Here, I'll pull them up. Victims of Mormon patriarchy rising up against their oppressors. And it's, what's this from? Like, which Disney thing is this from? This way overbearing.
That's the Red Queen. From,
yeah, it's the Red Queen from
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland, yeah. And their oppressors. Victims of Mormon patriarchy rising up against their oppressors and their oppressors. Mormon feminists warning about Mormon patriarchy, and Mormon patriarchy giving them the support and encouragement they need to do a good job in their activism.
What a wonderful dick.
Mormon feminists warning about Mormon patriarchy, Mormon men supporting them. I mean, it does just kind of mirror like how it always kind of was in the church too. Like most of the people I ever knew were exactly this in my wards growing up.
The thing about streeters, like, it makes me happy and sad at the same time, because like I feel validated that after all these years of trying to just be extremely nice and have serious conversations, he's realized there's just no fucking point. So now he's just having fun. And it's like, you know, I said I can feel validated because you know, like there's a reason why I just come out of the gate as an asshole, is because I'm not gonna. I already learned the lesson. There's no sense in being nice to you fucking dickheads, right?
We got a decade. We got a decade into trying to talk to him, and then we lost patience with it 5, 6, 7 years ago.
But it makes me so sad because, like, I want the streeter to win, like for the same reason that I want Luke Skywalker to win. Like, I want the good guys to win, but like, nah, the world's like the cave, like it's too much. The kayfabe is too strong. You know, people want their fight. They need their fights. There is no settling down and being rational and thinking about this and going like, hey, wait a second, you know?
We need a visual for all those kicked out of Mormon stories, or the long list of places where Flip has been banned.
There was a group called, I think I remember, because I was in it. I think it must have died or something, but there was, I think, a group called Banned from Mormon Stories.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But like, no, I've been banned from almost everywhere. Like, and like, I get it. I'm not confused about it at all.
I've behaved on Mormon Stories Facebook better than Jonathan is behaving. But I think if I was doing what Jonathan was doing, like Jonathan on his name, they're not going to ban him, although they've removed some of his posts.
He's a big name. It's a little harder for them to just fucking shit on him the way they shit on me or you. But like, no, you can tell. Like,
but if we made those posts, we would have been banned from.
For sure.
Mormon Stories Facebook page.
Because that thing's like, I mean, that thing's like, to be clear, like, I never broke any rules on any of those things. Like, no, not at all. You know, in fact, like, I was pointing out other people breaking the rules and how they talk to me all the time. You know, but no, I got thrown out. Like, I literally got thrown out of ex-Mormons for saying we shouldn't be bigoted. Like, and they're like, no, we need our bigotry. We want it. We believe in it. Like, it's an important part of who we are. Like, okay, well, there you go. Like, just understand why I say that you guys are bigots.
Oh yeah. So this was posted on one of them, Mormon Uncensored or something like that. I saw a woman say, "Ask a man to describe the qualities of a good woman and watch him describe a slave." And damn. And I posted like on it something just from like BuzzFeed, even like a left-wing channel of like men describing their favorite qualities of a woman, and none of it was slavish stuff, but I guess that's just being autistic about something. Made this meme about the Ellen DeGeneres thing that we put last week, where Ellen DeGeneres got up and just said, "I'm a strong woman," to, I guess, wave away like all the problems that she's had of being like a mean and a dick on set. So I put the same comment that she said on a Bill Cosby meme. Says, "But I'm tough and I'm impatient and I'm demanding and I'm direct. I'm a strong man." And imagine him getting a minute-long applause for that. Mitchell Clark says, "Ask a woman to describe a good man and watch them describe someone who will work for them so they can stay at home." Yeah.
I have that. I did that. I linked that in the group. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, link it up to me.
It was in here. Man, we say so many things. It's probably going to be so far back there. But it was a screenshot from a recommendation from Reddit r/ my partner is trans. God, I gotta find it. Gotta find it. But it's amazing. Like they don't notice like their lack of self-awareness when they reinforce patriarchal stereotypes, and they don't even notice it, and then they're sad about it being the case. Boy, oh boy!
We can watch some. We can watch some good old feminists in action from TikTok.
The WNBA players should be getting paid just as much as the men, and the fact that they aren't is an obvious sign of oppression and the patriarchy.
The WNBA is subsidized by the NBA because you guys don't bring any money because nobody wants to watch your games. The reason why you guys get any pay is because the men are paying you.
We are so tired of this narrative that we're not bringing in any money because we're not as entertaining. People should be watching our games. Just you wait until we have a player that's just as entertaining.
Hi, I'm everything that you asked for.
That's Caitlin Clark.
Ew, I don't like her. What? You're literally getting everything that you asked for. You have your first star player that people are paying money to go watch, and people don't think the WNBA is boring anymore.
But why is she getting all of the attention? It's not about me anymore. That's literally going to make me throw up. Ew.
The men are doing literally everything that you asked for.
It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. Why can't you just do it the way I want you to do it? If you think I'm fat, just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? You know the one I'm talking about, right? I gotta find. Oh, nope, that's a different one. Damn it, that's the abortion one. No, pregnancy tissue. That's a pro-life Nazi, or I mean a pro-choice Nazi thing. Damn it, we're such good podcasters. It was my partner's trans thing, and it was like a lady who says like, "Oh, my born a male partner recently transitioned to female."
Oh yeah, that's a ways back there.
Oh, I found it. Found it.
Yeah, sure. Here, I'll do another TikTok in the meantime.
And moving it. Wish I knew how to do real podcasting. There it is.
I can feel more masculine.
Hey, bro, after we're done.
So there's a blue hair there.
And I dyed my hair last night so I could feel more masculine.
Hey, bro, after we're done deadlifting this elk to bring back to the houses that we built by chopping down trees with the bare hands, I was thinking maybe we can dye our hair blue and publicly change our pronouns because our feelings are more important than the scientific nature of reality. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. My name's Jennifer now. You're valid, Jennifer. I'm non-binary. I'm a group of people now. It seems super inconvenient. I fucking love it. Man things. Man things. Tickle fight.
Tickle fight. Let me
But yeah, I found it.
I got it pulling up here. Share the screen. Shared.
Help! I think I fucked up. Me, 18 female, told my partner, 19 gender fluid, that I miss their masculinity. Wait, you miss their toxic masculinity? Oh, let's read on. They've been so honed in on expressing their femininity since it's been suppressed so much in their life so far. I didn't mean to say I miss their masculinity. What I meant is that I miss them taking care of me. Getting food for me, tucking me into bed, helping me clean my room. I do all these things for myself. All right, I do all these things for them. I related masculinity to taking care of someone else. Oh, where did you get that weird patriarchal idea? I explained this to them, but they are still processing how upset they are. I don't know what to do to help. but like it's just amazing. Like right there, like I always associated masculinity with being taken care of. Oh, you don't say, and you miss that? Like, wait, you're saying you lament the patriarchal oppression in which cis heteronormativity has been subjecting you all this time? But I mean, there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. Like chicks like it when men do shit for them, and also this guy was a guy, and he was doing guy shit apparently, and then he got into queer theory and decided to be a female, and it turned out he thought a female was someone who doesn't have to do shit for their partner. Well, what do you know? Like, okay, like you guys say that sitcoms are just evil patriarchal hegemony being foisted upon us, no, apparently this shit is deeper than any of that, because it's right here from 18-year-old female on helpmypartneristrans.reddit or whatever the fuck this is. Yeah.
Well,
oh boy, this lady. Dude, the blonde roots thing is starting to bug me. I'm normally not annoyed.
How dare? Don't talk about it, Paris. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm
Don't fall into
normally
the
not
trap.
annoyed by part, but like I don't know, but like when I see the exact same percentage in pornography in life, it's a problem.
Why are there no women in Stoicism? This was a topic at a presentation at Stoicon in 2020, and it's still being discussed. First
Of course
all,
it is
just historically,
Stoicon, they never left the building. They're being stoic in there to this day.
men, so women
If there's not enough women in something, that's an issue.
have to do a lot of translating when they read original Stoic texts. So the analogies, for example, are things like wars and battles and athletic competition. And so women have to do a lot of translating to put themselves in the narrative. Number 2, a limited set of moral virtues. I'm not saying that Stoicism is wrong. I'm saying this is only a subset of virtues that we usually only identify with the masculine. So feminine virtues like empathy, nurturing, compassion, relational wisdom, vulnerability, wisdom in the body, intuition, grace, gentleness, forgiveness are not highlighted. Number 3, I actually don't think you want a Stoic for a
Those things are feminine.
mother. Now, do you want a mother who is in control of her own emotional regulation? Absolutely. But I don't think you want a mother who only has Stoic tools, because some of that emotional detachment
She needs to be a patriarchy theory feminist.
is actually probably not healthy for the deep emotional bond that mothers share with their children, where children are irrational, where children are out of control, and you have to be able to step into that world. Number
These are all
4, an
social constructs,
overemphasis
you
on
doink.
rationality. Now, calm down. I am not saying that women are not rational, but I am saying that what we know of the brain is that the rational part of our brain that gives reasons for what we do is secondary. We are far more emotional than we are rational. And so by just focusing on that sliver of rationality, we're missing a lot of wisdom that comes from intuition. And then lastly,
Obviously, she listens to
Stoicism
Jordan
emphasizes
Peterson.
independence rather than interdependence. Stoicism values individualism, where if you are a woman and you're doing kin keeping, you are involved in cultivating and maintaining these intricate webs of relationships that are essential for the well-being of the group. And kin keeping requires an intense amount of emotional labor, ensuring that the family or the social group stays connected, that feelings are soothed, that conflicts are managed, and that requires high levels of empathy and nurturing and relational sensitivity rather than prioritizing your own emotional detachment. So my advice, if you are drawn to Stoicism, that's great. There are tools in Stoicism that have truly stood the test of time. You should read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. A lot of the stuff in there is really like cognitive behavior therapy. Like it really has stood the test of time. But if you're drawn to Stoicism, do something intentional to add some yin to your yang. Do some Jungian archetype work and dive into various aspects of your psyche. Do yoga and connect with your body. Have time where you focus on just being rather than doing. Do some dream work. See what's going on at the very edge of your conscious attention. Listen intentionally to female mystics who approach spirituality and character development in an entirely different way. Add some feminine to your life intentionally to make it a well-balanced breakfast.
I mean, it is that. I mean, it's a supremacist ideology, but it's that whole thing where it's like, why? Okay, we don't ever need we talk about needing to feminize masculine spaces, but we don't ever need to masculinize feminine spaces.
Nope.
Why
Because
the
it's
fuck?
already there. Patriarchy is so super dominant. Think about this.
If you ask people who use the term toxic masculinity to define non-toxic masculinity, they struggle.
I've tried.
They'll say, "Oh no, there are positive aspects of masculinity." So, okay, great. What are they? And they'll say nurturing and caring and kindness and emotional availability. And you go, and is that different from femininity? They say, no, it's the same. Okay, so let me get this straight. Masculinity is either toxic or not masculine. Because if they start saying courage, positive risk-taking, well-channeled competitiveness, you say, what, are you saying women aren't courageous? No, I'm not saying that. Okay, so sorry, what do you... So it's an empty set. So non-toxic masculinity is basically an empty set. So they can't fill that category. So you've either got toxic or nothing. That's bad.
Yeah.
That is true. I've tried it in real life. You can try it too.
You've asked them like, what? Could you tell me what non-toxic femininity is?
No, I know for fucking sure that I have asked that exact question, and this was back in my naive. I thought that feminists were basically on the right track, but misguided by some bad information. I asked Lindsay fucking Hansen Park exactly that. Like, wait, what is this? Is there any such thing as toxic femininity? Like, is there any positive masculinity? And that was the second to last conversation I had with her before she blocked me.
Well, how dare you? Well, watch this cute moment. This is cute. It's so cute.
Uh-oh.
You don't believe me? How's it not there? Here it is. This bro got a trial of free marriage.
Wait, what?
He checks out a girl. She starts yanking his head and hits him. Oh, but that wasn't her husband. But isn't it so cute? Like, she just like physically abused that guy for looking like, Like, we had all those discussions like last week and all that stuff about like how bad that Mormon guy is for getting upset that his wife went to Chippendales and stuff like that. This guy, her husband's behind her. She didn't realize it's not her husband, so she yanked and hit some guy's not her husband. Oh, it's so funny, but that was physical abuse.
Yeah.
You know?
But wait, so like, okay, is that because that's not a setup, or is it? It looks pretty set up.
Might be,
but we know enough though. Like, they've done enough of those tests of just have a woman smack a guy in public and see how people react.
And no one does anything about it.
Yeah. No, man. Goddamn, it's one of the moments in my life that, like, I really, really, really hope there's like some kind of defending your lifestyle afterlife where there's, God eye camera footage of your whole life, because I think you were there, Chris. Weren't you there? Roughly 10 years ago, walking from the little hippie place I lived with the hippie garden, and we were walking to one of the Twilight concerts with a bunch of our friends, including the twins, the redheaded twins. You know the ones.
Yeah.
And I made... I wish I remember exactly what I said, because I know it was hilarious, and the reason I know it's hilarious is because what she did. But I made a sarcastic joke about how women are violent. And one of the redheaded twins, in pure lack of self-awareness, her reaction to me making a joke about how women are violent was to hit me hard in the arm. She hit me in the arm, and then she immediately realized what she did, as you and I and all the men laughed and laughed.
She just immediately slugged you, and hard. Like, if she was a male, she would have knocked you over because she gave it her full hit.
I got that left a bruise.
Yeah.
Like, now, like, I survived, and that's like, for me, the moral victory more than makes up for the bruise and the ouchies.
But like,
so there's been a lot of studies on this over the years that they're saying that it's just because this stuff gets discounted, but physical violence inside of marriage is just as, if not more, prevalent with women than it is for men. It's just it gets
Bettina
discounted.
Arndt, you know Bettina Arndt, the wonderful
Yeah.
Australian lady.
Mhm.
There's a whole slew of them, but apparently just in the last month or so, they had a gigantic conference in Australia about this stuff. And one of the guys was like, it's a long form thing, but going through all the research. And I mean, I have to say, hold on. Sorry, there's cat hair on my screen. It bears up with my anecdotal observation, but this research showed that women were twice as likely as men to initiate physical domestic violence. Which again, I mean, my own life, I watched my mom physically assault my dad on a weekly basis for much of my childhood. My dad literally never raised, like, my dad made defensive motions only, right?
Mhm.
But no, like, just look this up. But if you look at Bettina Arndt, like, but a lot of these guys are talking about research, and like, it's funny because like they're talking about the research. They're pulling from the
They
exact
also cover it on the
research.
Honey Badger
Oh
live
yeah,
streams.
but like, to be clear, like, they're pulling from the exact same data that the feminist Australian government is using to institute all kinds of. Okay, fuck. While we're on this thing, add example 10,456 to feminism is a supremacist ideology thing. Tasmanian Women's Only Museum.
Oh, they wanted no men to go to the museum.
Do,
look, while you're looking that up,
screen.
in the era of the putting the woke away, it looks like the USDA just implemented climate change through an intersectional lens. We got to look at gendered vulnerability and resilience in indigenous communities in the United States. Put out by the USDA this week. And they say gender is rarely a topic of discussion in the climate change literature. The author aims to fill in the gaps of understanding to challenge our ability to design and implement efficient and effective adaptation and mitigation strategies in Indian country. This is venture into uncharted territory. You remember the whole reason James Lindsay and those guys started their hoax paper stuff is because they read a real paper on like feminist glaciology, and that's like what kicked it off. But like there it is in our farming system. But
hey, Divas, put your money where your mouth is. Anyway, are you sharing the screen? Have you got the share mode on to activated?
where'd you do it?
Oh, I'm sharing. I'm sharing via StreamYard.
Oh, your thing.
Yeah. Are we going?
You're there.
Tell. Oh, okay. Yeah, so just a couple weeks ago, 7 days ago, 1 week ago, judge says controversial women's only art exhibit legal. Da-da-da-da-da-da. A controversial women's only museum exhibit could soon reopen in Australia after an appeal judge overturned a ruling that it breached anti-discrimination laws. The luxurious ladies' lounge at the Museum of the Old and New Art Mona, in Hobart, had sought to highlight historic misogyny by banning male visitors from entering. Oh, interesting. It was forced to shut in May when one affected patron sued the gallery for gender discrimination and won. But on Friday, Tasmanian Supreme Court Justice Shane Marshall found men could be excluded from the ladies' lounge because the law allows for discrimination if it promotes, quote, equal opportunity for a marginalized group. Just try and process that sentence for a second. But no, I won't let you because we're moving on to where is it? I just want to skip ahead to the thing I know I showed you. Where does it say it? Do I need to search for it? You guys know I saw it. They didn't edit this. There we go. Today's verdict demonstrates a simple truth. Women are better than men. Feminism is a supremacist ideology. Here it is. This isn't Fox News. This isn't Andrew Tate. This isn't Jordan Peterson. It's the fucking BBC talking about what an Australian judge has ruled about a feminist running a museum that bans men on the basis of gender in a country that ostensibly is opposed to that. Look at the Orwellian nightmare that we are living in right here.
But there it is. Women are better than men. Where are all the feminists in Australia going, whoa, 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 whoa? That's not what feminist says. No, they're fucking silent because we all goddamn know. They don't disagree with this. Nothing this woman does or is doing or says runs against feminism in any way, shape, or form. It's all in perfect line with what they have to say about themselves, their motivations, what they believe about the world. There it fucking is. All right. Is that enough?
Surely.
Surely.
You no, not at all. You know that it was a problem that during the debates that JD Vance was mansplaining. You know that, right?
Wait, mansplaining to a man? Is that what they're saying? Are we just copying to Waltz being a fucking pussy?
Yeah, let's see. I'll show you.
Like muting powers.
Once, yeah,
and I actually
yeah.
think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment JD Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic.
It's all just like that intersectionality stuff is like such a trump card. You've heard about like the port strikes that are going on. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. I just got.
So I saw some like review of like the people in the port strike start saying the people who will be out of work are disproportionately people of color. You know, like everything is just always like just use that stuff for your club over the head bullshit.
The head of the Longshoremen's Union apparently makes like $750,000 a year, drives a Bentley, and recently sold a yacht.
Wow.
Like, yeah, he's a real working class guy.
But that's how those unions get, man. Better John Gotti him, or you're gonna have him forever. But then the next guy will just be the next John Gotti. Look at this. The United States Department of Agriculture is teaching farmers about the gender unicorn in order to help them use correct pronouns.
Like, I remember when I was a little kid and my dad gave me James Herriot books to read, and you know, because it's about veterinarianism, and he kept using the word animal husbandry, and I had to ask my dad, like, what's animal husbandry? He's like, well, that's livestock. Like, how do you keep livestock? And I'm like, well, that's a weird word. And he's like, well, yeah, but part of it is like you got to mate the animals to make babies, so you have more animals. And I'm like, oh. And I just like the whole idea that you're going to explain sex and sexuality to people who breed animals for a living.
Well, there is a great big new sports transgender issue hitting the world out there, and it affected some Utah places. Let me show you this one.
Okay, everyone, we have another update on the San Jose State University volleyball scandal that's going on right now. Another team has forfeited their game against them and will not be playing them. Let's read what they said. So after a lengthy discussion, the University of Wyoming will not play its scheduled conference match against San Jose State and wherever, per Mountain West Conference policy, the conference will record the match as a forfeit and a loss. Cowgirls will host Fresno State on Thursday. I'm really just curious to see like how many teams are going to forfeit their matches, and can they keep going on like this? Like, can San Jose State needs to take some action? Like, I just want to know what they're thinking of doing, because you know the indoor volleyball season is only like, I think it just started. Like, this is the first week they've got their opponents dropping out of the games like flies. Like,
let me cut to a guy who covers it a little bit better from he's from Dave Portnoy's
now
stuff.
Refused to play San Jose State. A third team has now refused to play San Jose State's women's volleyball team, as it is being reported that a member of the team is a trans athlete. And this is hands down the craziest story in sports right now, because not only are games being canceled left and right, and now a co-captain of the San Jose State team is joining a lawsuit which would ban players such as Blair Fleming from playing in NCAA sports. And the co-captain is still playing on this team. They're practicing together. This is Blair Fleming of San Jose State Volleyball. In 2020, Blair played on Coastal Carolina. After a law banned trans athletes from playing in South Carolina, Blair Fleming transferred to San Jose State. In 2023, Brooke Slusser transferred from Alabama to San Jose State. During the 2023 season, Brooke and Blair would room together on road trips, but Brooke and other players on the San Jose State team did not know that Blair was trans. That was until a report came out in April 2024 from Redux that reported that Blair Fleming is indeed a trans woman. Now I want you to fast forward to the 2024 season where San Jose State is off to an undefeated start, 9-0. Blair Fleming is one of the best players on the team. But on September 17th, Southern Utah decided that they were not going to play against San Jose State. And then after that, Boise State decided not to play against San Jose State in an in-conference game. And then yesterday, Wyoming did the same and decided not to play against San Jose State. By the way, Wyoming has these great TikTok videos. JC coming. Back to the story. While this is all going on, the co-captain of the team, San Jose State, Brooke Slusser, joined the lawsuit, essentially suing the NCAA for their gender rules. And Brooke is still on the team. Blair is still on the team, but they haven't played. And the lawsuit all goes back to Title IX. The group that is suing the NCAA is sending letters to the Mountain West, which is the conference that San Jose State plays in, and saying that schools that are participating in a game with a trans athlete could be illegal. And it says that they are arguing that Title IX bans trans athletes. Brooke has said that team dynamics have certainly gotten awkward. Yeah, I mean, I think this may be the first team in NCAA history where there's a lawsuit going on between two people. But I mean,
It's a little awkward.
That would certainly make it awkward. But she knows she's doing the right thing. It's crazy to say, but it was an easy decision for me, is what Brooke said. As of right now, San Jose State will be playing a game tomorrow against Colorado State. Brooke and Blair will be on the same court together as of now. This will continue to play out. The volleyball season goes into November, and obviously there's Mountain West tournament, and then there's the NCAAs. If San Jose State keeps playing and winning, also every time a team doesn't play or show up, it's a win for them. So they could end up in the NCAA.
You know, there's an irony here, though.
This story is developed.
They're going to end up in the tournament from forfeits. You know?
Here's the thing, though. It's like, because what if, like, here's the great irony. Like, Marxism works whether we like it or not. Accelerates the contradictions. Queer theory has managed to make women's college sports interesting. What do you do with that? Like, for the first time, like now everybody's like, well, now I want to watch these games. I want to see the controversy unfold before my eyes. Well, there you go.
Jared just gave us his excuse for not being here tonight. And it's because he's drinking at a bar, breaking the word of wisdom. Like, I can't. He's breaking the word of wisdom
in Idaho.
Unbelievable.
On a Thursday?
Yeah, that transgender stuff. I mean, here's USU talking about it. I think Governor Cox even made some tweet about it or something like that. Yeah, here it is. I stand with the students, coaches, and leadership of SU T-Birds and USU Aggies in their decision to forego their women's volleyball matches against San Jose State. It is essential that we preserve a space for women to compete fairly and safely. Our female athletes are, Governor Cox, who's been on all sorts of different weird sides about that. But
yeah, you can tell. Like, I don't know. Like, this is where you can find out if people are genuine or just politicians. And I think we know that Cox is just a politician, the way he's trying to maximize, his optics. Because I do think this is the best response, is to just say no, we're not going to play you because it's just not fair. And that's that, And because it does delegitimize them. Like, if they win, yeah, you won because you cheated. We all know it. That's the way to handle that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
wow.
Because that's the whole thing. Is because the whole point of sports is merit. That and people get really annoyed when people cheat. I mean, obviously, it happens all the time.
Well, there's those girls were rooming with the person for a year without knowing about it. That's pretty wild that they just don't get to know about it.
That's pretty nuts. Although, here's the thing, though. Like, were they not informed, or did they go, hang on?
She claims not informed until that.
No, but I mean, like, not informed. I mean, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like not informed, but like, did she not figure it out or have suspicion?
Not.
Have suspicion at least, because that thing's like, I don't know. There are some guys that I think can get by enough.
Well, I mean, this is the
But then
person.
there are
They
others
sort
that,
of
like,
they
there's
sort of
no-
look like it, but
Like, who was it?
she's like
well,
6
I
foot.
just-
But I don't
oh.
know if you look at that. I mean, I think you can see the lump in that thing if you look at
Well,
it closely.
I think I was just listening. I think it was Ricky Gervais was talking about how, like, the hands.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about the hands. You know, which is true. Like,
Well,
that's
that
one of those
other
things
one,
that's, like,
when it showed her live, like with like the muscle definition and stuff like that, it looked pretty, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Stuff's always kind of constantly going, and the Title IX, it's like half both ways. I mean, Biden had all that added Title IX stuff, but that got struck down by the Supreme Court. The added Title IX stuff, it took several months, but
It
they
is
tried to
weird.
put like gender identity as part of Title IX. Well,
I just wonder
anyway.
if we go back in time and read newspapers from like when they were proposing Title IX, was there some like extremely prescient guy who's like, you guys don't understand that this is going to backfire someday, and you're going to have dudes in dresses dominating women's sports, and everyone went,
Probably not.
"You're crazy, Russian bot. You
Probably,
love
yeah.
Donald Trump, Fox News."
Probably. It probably was, but what you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, real quick, because I guess we'll end on like Kwaku going off on Twitter for people.
Hooray.
But if Jared's going to be drinking instead of being here, it's time to watch an Onion video on the problem with drinking. Back when the Onion was
A
good.
year, thousands of Americans join Alcoholics Anonymous and have their personalities destroyed as a result. Should we be doing more to warn people about the dangers of joining AA?
Well, it's time we did something. Every year, AA takes countless fun, sociable people and turns them into boring, sanctimonious husks of their former selves.
That is so true. They can handle sobriety responsibly. They can go to a party, not have a drink, and be fine. But for people in AA, as soon as they get around alcohol, they start talking about their constant struggle with their disease and their need to find clarity.
My father was in AA, and I could still remember the terror that I felt when I'd hear his key in the door after a late night meeting, afraid that he'd want to wake me up and apologize to me for his faults as a father for hours on end.
That is just
You know, hold on.
Ghastly.
I've been very open about my membership in AA. So I read books on sobriety and go to meetings in community centers and drink coffee with strangers late at night.
Look, it's hard not to be
Sure.
resentful
Well,
of AA when that person who's always been the life of your birthday parties
That's right.
all of a sudden is leaving the party before karaoke even starts.
If you know somebody who's in AA and you see them at a bar or at a party, confront them. Ask them what's in your cup. What's the matter? Why aren't you drinking?
we don't need your help. It's just a matter of turning to a higher power.
Look, I used to have
Turning it
a
over.
very close friend, but he gave up drinking. And now he won't even answer the phone when I call screaming incoherently at 2 a.m. songs like we used to do at the bar after
Look,
work. Right
my
across the
AA
street.
isn't a problem. I do not let it affect my home or my work life. So
David,
I
David.
don't see
No
what's
idea. We can't sit here anymore and listen to you becoming more and more smug and self-satisfied.
No, I need AA. I
No,
can't do things
David,
without it.
we have a video we'd like to show you.
You're not the same man I married, David. You can't even have a sip of wine without you sighing loudly. David, you have a problem. You are obnoxious.
I didn't realize that my sobriety was hurting my family.
Well, it is, David.
David, take this.
It's going to be okay.
Come on.
You know you want to, David.
This is at least 15 years old, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
You remember Mitchell and Webb look? Mitchell and Webb did the society that are always just slightly less than 2 drinks drunk all the time, and that the entire world is run by people that are just ever so slightly less than 2 drinks drunk.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, we got to wrap up, but like, man, because that's things like drinking and alcohol, like that's talking about world of paradox. Because like, I like it. It's where I make my money. But like, you know, I just today at work, crazy coincidence that the people that are responsible for digging up the sprinkler system where I work, one of them is the child of my friend who drank himself to death last October. He died October 15th last year, and we're just coming up on his the anniversary of his death. And he drank and he worked at the wine store. And he brewed beer his whole life, but he was crazy and an alcoholic, and he drank himself to death. And also, like, I have some friends that just you have some friends that just recently graduated from drunk people college, which is to say they went to rehab. And like, it's, I don't know, it's just crazy to me because like AA is bonkers. I've been to a lot of AA. Not for me. It's kind of weird. 'Cause, like, I've seen an awful lot of AA, even though I've never been an alcoholic. Because like I saw 6 months of AA because I went once a week with a friend of mine because he's like, hey, I think I need AA. But I don't want to go alone. I'm like, oh, and I said, I'll go with you. So I went to 6 months of AA and just fucking hung out with him in AA. And then for a while I had a job where I worked with fucked up teenagers with drug problems. And so my job was to just sit in the room while they did AA. And so I just saw a ton of fucking AA. And I have really mixed feelings about AA. Because for the people who need it, like it's a lot like church. It's a religion. It's a fucking religion. Like it's just like a lot of people with Mormonism, where it's like, you know, like I think a lot of this stuff is bullshit and all this God stuff isn't true. But like, fucking stick with this thing, man. Because for you, the alternative is obviously just awful. Because alcohol, like, you know, all the time, like, because people are always asking me about fucking natural wine and organic and sulfites and all this shit, and they're like, I just don't want a headache. And I have this whole rant, and part of it is like, if you woke up with a headache, it means you did brain damage, and that's because you drank too much ethanol. Ethanol is a deadly poison. It is the most socially destructive drug known to man. Like, you know, I hold up a wine bottle and I say, like, there's enough ethanol in here to kill 5 human babies. You can distill this and run a tractor on it. It's poison. The dose makes the poison. Like, there's no free lunch. If you woke up with a headache, you drank too much. The solution is drink less, you know? But then, like, the whole thing is like, because like I think about my friend who drank himself to death last year. And then also, like, I live downtown and like, talking about fucking drug addiction and homelessness and all this shit. The fucking key fob readers for all of the entrances to the floor of my apartment building got smashed by some maniac today. So as long as the elevator works, I can get into my house, but the elevator breaks once a week, and God knows until a fucking drug addict smashes my anyway. I just lost my train of thought. But like, yeah, just as crazy. Like, I don't want to live in, like, because obviously I know better than to want prohibition, right? Because, like, you know, there are places like the Muslim world, for example, is like, well, the solution to your friend drinking himself to death is it's illegal to have alcohol. Okay, we obviously know that's a terrible fucking idea, right? But like, I don't know. Like, there's this paradox where it's like, yeah, I like alcohol. I'm using it right now. But like, it scares the fuck out of me. Like, I'm not scared of myself because I'm old enough and I've been drinking long enough that I know that, like, I don't have the issues that I see, you know. Like, I usually have 1 bottle of wine a week, and it's during this podcast. Sometimes I have 2 if I have like a really good meal planned or something like that, you know. But like, you know, in my job, I've watched people over 5 years where I watch them go from a bottle of wine to a magnum of wine to a bottle of vodka to 2 bottles of vodka every fucking day. And I like, there are people who I see their skin tone drain out of them, you know, over, like, just slow motion over years. I don't know. This is a long, weird rant. But
well, we
like,
definitely have a friend too one of our friends who has been on the AA train for a while, and we think is probably a good thing, although he says he doesn't buy into the higher power end of it. But he definitely had anger issues. Like whenever he got drunk, he would kind of turn personalities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's funny because like he talked about his grandpa, who I only met briefly once. His grandpa's a legendary alcoholic, and he was telling me about how I think it was his uncle said about his grandpa, and our friend is relating this to me, and he said he had 3 modes of drunk. I love everybody, I want to help everybody, and everybody get the fuck out of my house. And I had to say, like, I had a couple of those with you, man. He's like, oh yeah, you know, and like, and to his credit, like that's the thing is like, well, that's part of what I was thinking about with this is like, because he's kind of the irony with this is that like he's like, I better go to my 1 year ship thing, and I'm like, well, why don't you want to go? And he's like, well, because you have to tell him how you did it, and I can't say smoking weed.
Yeah, because that is how he did it. Yeah.
But the answer is I smoke weed, you know,
Yeah,
but I can't
and a
do
lot
that.
of it,
Right? So I gotta come
but it
up
doesn't
with
have that anger stuff with it.
you know.
Yeah.
And so he had kind of this like, you know, and it just made me think about like, I mean, well, this is kind of tying a lot of threads together in my kind of drunken stream of consciousness. But like my friend dying last year, because for his funeral, because he was an interesting cat in that he was born and raised by very devout Catholics, but he was kind of a nutcase, and he became a devout Buddhist. Like he went to Nepal and did pilgrimage and did the whole thing, and he had all this stuff and a shrine and all this crap. And so for his funeral, he had 2 services. He had the full-on Buddhist service and the full-on Catholic funeral mass. And going through all of that really made me realize, like, this is like for me as an atheist that don't believe in nothing is that Jared.
Yeah, you as an atheist who doesn't believe in nothing.
That like I realized like this is the value of religion, because atheism has got no fucking like, I mean, if it's a tennis match, you know, and we're serving the ball to each other, like atheism has no answer to Catholic mass, funeral mass. It has no answer to that thing I watched the Buddhists do for an hour, where they did the chanting and the thing, and they waved the thing, and my job was to sit quietly and meditate, and it worked on a level, you know, that like is obviously so far beyond anything that fucking atheism has to offer. Because like I always say, atheism has nothing to offer. Atheism is extremely boring. Atheism has one opinion on one question and nothing else follows. But you know, and because that's the thing is like, I mean, we're working on a year, but before last October, I had carried 0 caskets in my life. And at this point, I've carried 3, all in the last year. Like I carried my my crazy drunk friend's casket, and I carried my dad's casket, and I carried my first ever boss's casket. And go, you know, 2 of those were, well, one was a very Mormon funeral, one was a kind of Mormon funeral, and the other one was that Catholic Buddhist funeral. And all of that, and then AA, all this time, this together, like really makes me appreciate the stupid spiritual need, the thing that the fucking Jacobs of the world called the God-shaped hole. Like I hate that stupid shit because like God schmod. It doesn't have to be God. But the point is like these fucking Catholics and Buddhists and Mormons, they know something about funerals that atheists have no fucking answer to. And atheists should be fucking grateful that Mormons are around to run funerals when you need them. Or Buddhists. Or the Masons. The fucking Masons did a thing at my dad's funeral. Because in the last 10 years of my dad's life, he joined the Masons and he started going to the synagogue because he's a nutcase. But at my dad's funeral, on top of the Mormon shit, we did Wacky Johnson shit, we did Mormon shit, and then we did crazy Mason shit. You know, and I realized like this was all important because like my plan was to fuck the whole thing off because I was pissed off at my dad. you know. But then I realized, like, no, these human rituals are more important, and they mean something, you know, bigger. And like, because that's the thing. And in fact, it was our friend we were just talking about that his solution to alcohol was weed, and he was one of the guys like. One of his first jobs was that he was a funeral director for a funeral home. Like, and he was just like an 18, 19-year-old. But he learned from that, and he told me, he's like, no, the funeral's for you, jackass. You need to do it for you. Like, for any, like, if you're pissed off at your dad, doesn't matter. You need to go for you. And he's a fucking atheist that don't believe in nothing. But there's another little testimony about how, like, no, like, religion is answering fucking questions that are so big and deep. And like, I mean, I guess the whole point of our show is kind of what I'm getting at, is that all these idiots that want to brush this shit aside, and not just brush it aside, but shit on it and call it oppressive and homophobic and say blood on your hands and all this crap. Like, God damn it. You guys are fucking senseless. I don't ever want to go to an atheist funeral. God, what a nightmare. So what is that?
Yeah. There was a post just this week that I guess Richard Dutcher is going to, I'm trying to find it, but Richard Dutcher is going to start trying to have Sunday night get-togethers for Exmos in South Salt Lake. I was trying to find it if people haven't seen it, but I can't find the post that he made about it. But we were saying, well, good luck to him, but it'll probably fail.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I know they keep trying. I'm like, God, it's not going to work. That thing's like, I think like it. I think I've realized at this point, you need the stupid, ridiculous idea for it to work. You know, like, why does Star Trek work? Because it's retarded and makes no sense, but we all just go along with it.
You gotta have the mythology, the moral mythology of the WWE is what you gotta have going on there. Like, you need those little stories in there. Or it's not gonna work. But I'm trying to find the post that they made on it, but I can't find it. But anyway, should we talk Quaker just a second before we take off? Oh wait, look at this. Here's Jim Bennett. We're going to talk Quaku and Jim Bennett because we got to talk the other side of stuff. Jim Bennett prediction: General Conference will include oblique opposition to Donald Trump that Trumpers will either completely ignore or interpret opposition to Kamala Harris. Past examples of this counsel that voting a straight party ticket is a threat to democracy. We should never say a church member can't vote for a particular party. Vote for decent, honest, moral candidates with integrity.
He's such a dork.
So Quaker had this post on the Twitter that says, "Can't speak for LDS Dems, but I do in fact believe a large swath of the Republicans in the church are fundamentally dark-spirited and borderline irredeemably evil."
I like borderline irredeemably evil.
Yeah.
I mean, borderline personality disorder in 2-3 words. Borderline irredeemably evil. Like, that, it's a paradox, man. How do you not see that?
Yeah. He says, the church wouldn't survive without overweight, dry-mouthed nerds using anonymous accounts to cry and whine about liberals at BYU and the church office building, infiltrating their Sunday schools and running their government. That's right. The true slipping warriors of 2024 are chubby dads who think 4chan memes and worshiping Brigham Young will surely build a new desert nation. What a bunch of lunatics. They're not afraid of being doxxed because they lose their jobs. They're afraid of being doxxed because every time we see these people, we realize how physically, mentally, and spiritually unimpressive they are. And then Josh says, so there are, oh wait, there's the first he made this other post here. I stand by what I said. Evil people are irredeemable, whether Protestant or LDS, they are irredeemable. Many of these politically extreme people attempting to build a desert nation of Christian national society are irredeemable. Like, tell me how like the global government of Jim Bennett isn't also a political motivation in religion, Quaker. And you're supposedly skeptical of those one world governments, but tell me that Kamala Harris and those guys aren't 100% in line with that stuff. They have no heavenly eternal life waiting for them, and their views are worthless and without any honor. Worshiping power, false gods, cultural supremacy, and honoring war makes you irredeemable. It's why you have to be born again and becomes a new creation. Nazis, terrorists, serial killers, they're all irredeemable. Nobody can be saved in their sins, and especially not when they become anti-human and monstrous. The evil you is irredeemable. The evil you is worthless. The evil you has nothing to value. The evil you doesn't matter. So stop being that you and become a different one. A born again, spiritually awoken spirit of just a man made perfect is redeemable. This is the person that will make it to heaven. We can all have that. However, nobody can have it when their heart, mind, psyche are baptized in the cultural waters of the right extremism and false god of war worship. Many people are irredeemable. Jesus gives us the chance to become a new person. You don't get, you don't get to be a monster and just hope Yeshua's grace makes up the rest. You have to foresee what the world is. I don't know if I changed that over on. That's a here.
I have a hard. I mean,
that was this post. If you want to screenshot it.
Yeah. I have a hard time with that. I really want to. Has anybody ever asked Kwaku? Has Kwaku ever really talked about his mom's stuff? Because his mom was more science, right? Because one thing is like there's a big overlap with them and sovereign citizens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I really wonder, like, and like, not that this has much to do with all this because this is just kookiness. But I'm just kind of curious about, like, I'd really love to hear just, you know, as a genuine, like, hey, what's your story thing? What's the story with the Kwaku's crazy more science upbringing? But like that whole thing there, like I don't know how to say it without being unkind. It just sounds like craziness. Like that's
well, it sounds a little bit like he's then pleading for his multiple mortal what you call it, reincarnation stuff.
Oh, multiple mortal probations. Yeah.
But
well, yeah, he clearly loves that thing. He needs that. Has he been on Midnight Mormons at
people
all?
have pointed out that not much lately, but I think they've like referenced him like he isn't. But some people asked in those comment sections, like, "Are you talking about Cardin?" You know what I mean? And although I don't know that Cardin's like Christian
I feel like,
nationalist.
I mean, I don't watch that show real close, but like, I haven't seen him pop up in any thumbnails. And like, it used to be like, "Hey, Kwaku says wacky stuff. Check it out." You know, Cardin stuff. But I haven't. I mean, yeah, I just haven't seen it in a while. What a weird situation. What a weird world. Remember when church was simple and obvious in the 80s? That's when Troy loved it best.
Yeah. Anyway, just to tie it back to Khmer Rouge stuff, says,
good times.
Also says, you don't hate journalists enough. You think you do, but you don't. Says, the Communist Party of Peru did not boil children alive. I have seen nothing like this written anywhere. They did apparently use scalding water as a method of execution. And Jared looked up this, like, that's a real Medium story. That one.
Wow.
Tying back to year zero stuff. But not evil, not as irredeemable as those Christian nationalists, but
Christian nationalists.
Yeah. Anyway, I couldn't find the Richard Dutcher thing. It's buried down there somewhere.
Dutch.
But just so people know, Richard Dutcher is having some sort of
this thing's like, part of me says like we should go and do investigative journalism and do real on the ground stuff and check it out. But then I'm like, well, but we're tainting it. Like we're like Jane Goodall observing the apes. Where it's like that's not real science. Our presence.
We'd be a Schrodinger's.
Yeah, exactly. Our presence is fucking with the situation. So you know, and genuinely, it's a real problem because like I'd love to watch it, but I know if I'm there, people would be like, "What's up with this guy?" And if they asked me, I'd have to be honest. Like, I mean, I could lie, and that would fuck with the experiment, or I'd have to be honest, and that would fuck with the experiment. So I can't go. We're just gonna have to wait, and we're just gonna have to wait in 21 months. There's gonna be a whole Reddit page about why the Richard Dutcher ex-Mormon community fell apart because of a bunch of polyamorous sexual shit.
Yeah, or somebody got canceled for being a bigot. Something like
being
that.
A bigot. Being a bigot.
Being a bigot.
What'd you do?
Man, okay, watch this. I just got to show you something.
And no scientist who's not a Mormon has ever confirmed that the Book of Mormon is a book based in real history or real geography. It is not a history book. Just dropping in to say that nothing you could ever say would shake my faith. Wow, literally nothing? Nothing on the entire planet? That's right. In fact, anytime anyone tries to weaken my testimony with facts or logic, it just makes my belief stronger. You don't find that a bit concerning, though, that you belong to a group of people that encourage faith and belief no matter what? No, it's not concerning at all. I'm actually proving how much faith I have. What about critical thought, though? You're choosing blind faith over the ability to think and reason and act for yourself. You're allowed to change your mind when you're presented with new information. It's a sign of strength, actually. No, the true sign of strength is knowing that I belong to the true church no matter what anyone else says. And I don't care what information you have about who Joseph Smith was or where the Book of Mormon came from. I really don't think this is the flex that you think it is.
So I'm just putting that out because that's got 23K likes, and that's like just right back to TikTok
That's
videos
terrible.
that Kara was doing a while back. But this guy put out this video.
Intelligent, and I'm going to talk in a really appealing way. And I'll probably break the fourth wall because I'm the creator, and these are my opinions. And I'm whatever opinion or ideology that the creator is arguing against. I'm really angry, and I can't piece together my entire worldview because the creator himself doesn't understand it. But he's going to argue against me anyways. You and people like you are really dumb, but I'm not going to say that directly. I'm just going to be really smug and condescending, and it'll turn away a lot of people who disagree with me. But then the people who agree with me will just think that's really awesome and epic, and they're going to engage, and I'm going to get a bunch of followers because of this. Even though I'm your fictional opponent, all the people who agree with me are going to react to your content, and they're going to take apart your idea piece by piece, but you won't respond to any actual criticism. You just like to argue with people that you create. That's why you argue with me. Well, my value system and ideology are like really wholesome and stuff, so I don't actually need to engage with anybody else. I'm yelling now, and I'm really angry and making a bunch of logical errors, and it's very easy to point out where they are logical errors, even if they're not consistent with my actual worldview. I've maintained my composure, and I'm really eloquently spoken, so I'm the clear winner of this debate, which I created. You guys should follow me because I am just so intelligent.
Dude, is he doing Jacob? Like, that's amazing.
It's like it's what everybody does in that space.
It is.
And some
No, it
people
really is,
joked.
yeah.
Some people have joked like back in the time because Carrie used to make those videos all the time, but now Alyssa comes along and she makes the exact same videos and getting 23K views on it type of stuff. But I mean, I guess it's eternal just to start fresh from the beginning of all that sorts of deal. But somebody once joked and said that, that's technically Socrates. Like Socrates is like everything written out by Socrates was like, this is how I destroyed somebody in an argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's
by
just
arguing
like,
with myself.
by arguing with myself. Yeah. But I just thought that was funny. But anyway, I don't have much else except for dumb little
Yeah.
videos like that or a home math if you want a home math. It's been a while since we've seen a home math.
Have we done a home math? Okay. We're 3.06. We'll do one home math.
We're over one home math now. Let me find, where did I say?
Oh, Troy Levitt talking about how great the LDS Boy Scouts was in the 80s. I feel like I got just the ass end of that in 1989 because like my earliest Boy Scout memories was like when I was 7 or 8. In fact, I think I got to come along even though I wasn't quite old enough just because I don't remember. I got grandfathered in somehow. And I remember like the first Boy Scout trip I went to, we drove and we drove and we drove and we drove. And we drove up the mountains on the highway. And then we got off the highway and we were in the little town. And then we were on the dirt road. And we drove up the dirt road and we drove and we drove and drove. And then we got out. And then we walked. And we fucking walked. And we walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. And we ended up in this wonderful little place in the Uintas called Hourglass Lake. And it's burned into my memory. And we went there a few times. And but then we moved across town to Kearns. And then Boy Scouts was in Sister Torgenson's backyard.
Boy Scouty Flippy sang as they walked and walked and walked and walked.
I couldn't believe that's the longest I ever walked in the mountains. I thought it was forever, and it was the most amazing thing. But just
I
that
was in
contrast,
Scouts when Scouts was good too. I mean, it was definitely good,
But yeah, for me that it was just the crazy contrast of because I remember okay, mom's like, okay, you need to go to Scouts. And I'm like, oh, hooray, we're gonna go drive and walk and go in the mountains and fish and we're roughing it and the camping and all that glorious stuff. No, we're gonna carve fucking bars of soap in Sister Torgenson's backyard. Just god damn it.
Yeah. All right, home mathing out because we didn't really hit any autistics of the week. A little bit.
If he won't, find someone who will. Like if he won't open your door for you, find someone who will. Simple, right? My brother just asked me, does that work for guys too? I was like, of course. So he's like, so if she doesn't cook for me, find someone who will. If she won't do my laundry for me, then find a girl that will. Why does it sound so bad when men say it?
It sounds bad because our society and culture are in a fallen state, and our media has everybody brainwashed into believing that life is about what I want, who owes it to me, and how I get it from them, but not about what I should be providing to others. This is my depiction of a transactional relationship. This is one thing she wants from him, one thing he wants from her, and if you stop there, it's just a negotiation. How much do I have to give to get? More mature relationships are focused on what I can provide. What is it that makes me a quality partner? That's why these conversations about the table are so stupid. Women will say, I am the table, as if he has no needs at all. That's what these princess treatment relationships are. It's just simping with no reciprocation, and it ends when you can't keep it up anymore. So when you say,
Why does it sound so bad when men say it?
it is because you are experiencing a demand instead of an offer of support. And that is how the internet pulls consciousness downwards. You might be a unique individual who recognizes multiple valid perspectives, but when you're flipping through TikTok, you're being programmed to be egocentric, self-interested, and self-protective, and to see others mainly as a means to an end. We still need to get our needs met. It's just so annoying to hear you all talk about it. I want this, and I want this, and I want that. Where's the part that would make us want to give it? I'll give you an example. I would love somebody to do chores for me. I just don't list it as a primary requirement. I say that I'm looking for someone who is excited about who I am as a person, so we can both help each other live fuller, more satisfying lives. And that would have to include someone doing the laundry, so there's no reason to mention it. It's a question of language and mentality. Everyone's talking about the results they want, but not about what they're going to do in order to deserve them. If you don't like your situation, you need to figure out why it's like that, and then rethink a few things, and then change how you show up and what you do, or who you hang out with, and see if you get better results. But instead, people just like to list off their demands on TikTok and offer nothing. It's social degradation. Don't do it.
Yeah. Rob Henderson pointed out the study that says women today certainly do not need a male mate with money to survive. However, women still have the unconscious drives that operate in the way we did over millions of years of evolution around the world. Women still prefer mates with high status and resources. Women today certainly do not need, I guess it just says the same thing. Yep. Tough spot. We're all in. Tough spot. Tough spot.
Alrighty.
All
Did we
right.
do it?
We did enough. We crapped on everything. Back to kayfabe. Go back. We healed it up. We are the Mormon heels. That's what we're here doing. We are ex-Mormon heels. Here
Watch it go.
to be everything you can hate.
Jacob, you damn coward. I paid you $10 fucking and you didn't even read one of my fucking comments. And
You read one of them, didn't you? You read your.
Oh, so that thing is, he read one of them, and then I paid another $5 for a follow-up. They never read it. They just took my money. And that's the thing is like, oh, that's what I was gonna say. Jacob, I don't even want an apology if you videotape yourself putting a $10 bill into the mission fund. Like, I want you to take my money and pay it to missionaries. I don't want you to have that money. Like, do you think Jacob would do that? Because like he says, like, oh, I don't pay tithing on this. Like, okay, that's fucking bullshit. Like, and I didn't get my money's worth out of it because like my first comment, you straw man me, and then you didn't even read my second comment. Now, you either owe me $10 or you owe me putting that money into the missionary fund because I don't think you deserve that money, Jacob. That's my challenge.
What if he took the debates that we?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, like, or you can fucking talk to me and actually put your money where your mouth is, as the expression goes, and actually debate me, bro. But whatever, he won't. He won't do any of those things. He'll take the money.
he won't pay tax or tithing on it, and that'll be that.
Well, Flip laying down the gauntlet. So, but,
there you go.
Yeah, the debates would be fun to watch. So,
for sure.
Alrighty, y'all. Thanks for chilling and hanging and watching our heel performance.
Later, everybody.
Later.